Chapter 21. It was late at night. The two moons hung in the sky and the moonlight was perfect. Jiang Xi sat cross-legged on the balcony on the third floor of the villa and began his first attempt at cultivation. Before he fainted, he had already obtained the USB flash drive with the basic mental cultivation method from Jiang Sheng. He had already memorized it after checking it on the computer earlier. The qi drawing technique can draw the qi of heaven and earth into the body to strengthen the body. Although the efficiency of the basic mental cultivation method is the slowest among the qi drawing techniques, I have the experience points panel. As long as it can help me break through the current bottleneck, even the most basic qi drawing technique is fine. Ever since he used the experience points panel to max out his martial arts talent, his level had stagnated. Level, normal, 100,100, martial arts, basic fist technique, combine 50-50, basic sword technique, combine 1/100, force exertion, 100% experience points, 75, success or failure depends on this. Jiang Xi's eyes were burning. He closed his eyes and silently recited the mental cultivation method, thinking about the method of qi drawing technique and trying to sense the qi of heaven and earth. After the qi revival, the qi of heaven and earth was everywhere. Especially after the second qi revival, the density of the qi of heaven and earth was much higher than the first time. To sense the qi of heaven and earth, one must be calm physically and mentally. The first cultivation is the most difficult, but once one senses the qi of heaven and earth, there will be no obstacles later on. According to the introduction of the basic mental cultivation method, those with poor martial arts talent will not be able to sense the qi of heaven and earth for 3 to 5 months or even a year. As for martial arts geniuses, they can usually sense it in 1 or 2 days. How long will it take for me? Calm the body. He slowed his breathing and relaxed his body so that his muscles were no longer tense. Calm the mind. Don't let your imagination run wild. Focus. Fuck. An hour later, Jiang Xi suddenly opened his eyes. His body was calm, but his mind was not. The more he tried not to let his imagination run wild, the more messy things would appear in his mind. I don't believe that a genius with full martial arts talent can be stopped at the first stage. Again. Jiang Xi closed his eyes again and repeated the action just now. With the previous experience, Jiang Xi's heart gradually became calmer. It was like the surface of a lake, without any ripples in the absence of wind. Another hour later, a cool breeze blew by, making the midsummer night a little chilly. A calm heart will naturally cool down. Fuck. Jiang Xi opened his eyes helplessly. His heart was already very calm, but it was blown away by a gust of cold wind. Let's try one last time. If it doesn't work, we'll sleep. Jiang Xi reorganized his emotions, and this time, he got into the mood faster than before. After his body calmed down, he became even more relaxed. From his body to his heart, he had no thoughts. His mind was in a state of chaos, as if he was about to fall asleep. The moon was in the middle of the sky. The two bright moons were like silver plates. It was as if they had each other's company and were no longer lonely. In the midst of the haze, threads of coolness suddenly entered Jiang Xi's body from all directions. So cool, so comfortable. Jiang Xi's thought process became extremely slow. You have comprehended basic heart cultivation technique. EXP +10, the panel has been updated. Please check it in time. The sudden notification sound in his mind woke Jiang Xi up. Success. Following his awakening, the threads of coolness from all directions also disappeared. This is the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Jiang Xi was pleasantly surprised. Look at the time, It's already midnight. In other words, my last attempt took 2 hours. 3 times added up to a total of 4 hours. I am indeed a genius. Jiang Xi smiled slightly, feeling happy. The feeling just now was not bad. Let's try cultivating again. Jiang Xi recalled the feeling just now. His body and heart were calm. Soon, threads of cool spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered. This feeling was very wonderful. It was as if there were countless small hands gently caressing his body unknowingly. Half an hour had passed. These threads of spiritual energy of heaven and earth had reached a critical point in his body, condensing into a thread of cool spiritual energy. He had completed a cycle of cultivation for the basic heart cultivation technique. You have cultivated basic heart cultivation technique once. EXP +3, Jiang Ci opened his eyes. He was pleasantly surprised. It was an unexpected surprise. I didn't expect that cultivating would also give me EXP. One cycle in half an hour and I gained 3 EXP. Now I have a new source of EXP. Following that, Jiang Ci carefully sensed that with his current physical strength, he would reach his limit after cultivating for about 3 cycles a day. In this way, cultivating the basic heart cultivation technique every day would give him a maximum of 9 EXP. This should be due to the low efficiency of the basic heart cultivation technique. If I cultivate a higher level qi drawing technique, then the amount of spiritual energy drawn into my body would greatly increase. Presumably, the EXP I would gain would also increase. Jiang Ci guessed. However, the higher level qi drawing technique was something to consider in the future. Right now, the basic heart cultivation technique had already allowed him to break through the bottleneck. He opened the EXP panel. Level, Skin Refining, F, 12100, Cultivation Technique, Basic Heart Cultivation Technique, Martial Technique, Basic Fist Technique, Combination 50-50, Basic Sword Technique, Combination 1 out of 100, Force Exertion, 99% EXP, 88. After cultivating the Qi drawing technique, my level has finally increased to F level Skin Refining. But with only 1 EXP, it means that I am still the trashiest F-level martial artist. There is also an additional martial technique column, but it is the same as force exertion. There is no EXP behind the basic heart cultivation technique, which means that it is only used to display my status. N. My force exertion has actually decreased by 1%. Jiang Ci was a little surprised, but after thinking about it, he understood. That's right. After improving my physical fitness, my strength and speed would increase, but my force exertion would decrease. This is also logical. Perhaps when his level and experience increase, the decrease in force exertion would be even more obvious, but this was only relative. When the time comes, the actual strength he could display would be even stronger. Looks like I have to continue strengthening my martial technique. Only then can I maintain a high force exertion. Thinking of this, Jiang Ci recalled the battle between him and Shen Quan. He was able to rely on his peak potential martial artist strength to kill the F-level martial artist Shen Quan. His 100% force exertion had contributed greatly. Although Shen Quan was an F-level martial artist, his strength and speed were several times higher than mine, but his force exertion was not good enough. That was why I was able to find an opportunity to use the basic sword technique that had reached the combination realm to complete the ultimate counterattack. However, it is better not to do things like this in the future. That day, in order to improve his basic sword technique, he had added 80 EXP to his basic sword technique in a short period of time. In the end, it caused him to bleed from his 7 orifices, and his consciousness became like a lump of paste, causing him to be unconscious for half a month. Jiang Ci even guessed that if he had added another 10 EXP to his basic sword technique that day, perhaps the blood vessels in his head would have exploded. At that time, he would have lost his life. My life is the most important. I can't take risks. Be careful. Be careful. Let's try the effect of leveling up on the interface after the breakthrough. After reflecting for a while, Jiang Ci became excited again. No! I have to prepare food first. He quickly got up and ran downstairs to the kitchen. Chapter 22. Genten Budokan was very considerate. When he and Jiang Daodu had just moved in, the kitchen had already prepared a lot of dishes. Pork knuckles, there's no pork knuckles. Jiang Ci looked around the kitchen and could only give up in the end. Fortunately, there's braised beef. I'll make do with it. Not knowing how much energy he would need to level up this time, Jiang Xi didn't go anywhere else and just leveled up in the kitchen. Level up by 10 experience points. The next moment, a cool spiritual energy appeared out of thin air in his body and quickly spread throughout his body. With the help of this spiritual energy, his physical fitness became a little stronger than before. Immediately after, hunger appeared in his stomach. But what made Jiang Xi feel strange was that the hunger wasn't too obvious this time. It didn't matter if he ate or not. I haven't reached my limit yet. Give me another 10 points. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. It seemed that as he leveled up, the limit he could bear also increased. Soon, his body was strengthened again and the hunger became obvious, but he could still bear it. Again. This time, before Jiang Xi could carefully feel the spiritual energy that had just appeared, a strong sense of hunger appeared. He was so hungry that his heart was flustered. A one-time increase of 30 experience points was his current body's limit. Eat. Jiang Xi grabbed the braised beef and stuffed it into his mouth. It's delicious. But the pork knuckles are still the best. 20 minutes later, nearly 10 pounds of braised beef entered Jiang Xi's stomach. It wasn't that his stomach was big, but after the beef entered his stomach, it was quickly digested by his body to replenish the energy consumed by leveling up just now. Oh! So satisfying. After eating, Jiang Xi went to the underground training room and practiced a set of basic fist techniques while he was still full of energy. The wind from his fists whistled and was full of power. I can clearly feel that my strength is a little stronger than before. Although it's not much, it's still an improvement. Jiang Xi clenched his fist hard and saw a faint layer of copper on his fist. Upon closer inspection, one could see that even his wrist was covered by the copper color. This was the best proof of leveling up. Level F martial artists were in the skin toughening of the 6 martial artist realms. After reaching the upper realm, once they used all their strength, their entire body would be covered with a layer of copper color, which was called copper skin. Level, Skin Refining, F, 312100, Cultivation Method, Basic Mental Cultivation Method. Martial Skill, Basic Fist Technique, Combine 50-50, Basic Sword Technique, Combine 1/100, Force Output, 98% Experience Points, 58. I only have 58 EXP left, but I need a total of 2100 EXP to level up to F class. Compared to the 100 EXP required for normal players, the difficulty is 21 times higher. As expected, the path of martial arts will only become more and more difficult. Although Jiang Xi was worried, he was not discouraged. Since they had come this far, there had to be a solution. Moreover, he now had another stable source of experience points. He could also gain experience points by practicing the chi drawing technique. The next day, Jiang Xi came to Genten Budokan, intending to ask Jiang Sheng about the warrior assessment. However, he didn't expect that Jiang Sheng hadn't arrived yet. He looked at the time and realized that he had come too early. Now that he lived nearby, he still followed his old schedule and woke up at 6 in the morning. After practicing alone for a while, he saw Jiang Sheng and Lu Shan coming together. This made Jiang Xi very surprised. Was Lu Shan so free? I told you, little Jiang must be at the dojo. Jiang Sheng smiled at Lu Shan. Who knew that this kid would be so diligent? It's only 6 or 7 and he's already out. Lu Shan shook his head. Jiang Xi immediately understood. These two people had just gone to his house and didn't see him, so they came to the dojo to look for him. Little Jiang, you sensed spiritual energy? After approaching, Lu Shan immediately noticed that Jiang Xi had become a little different. I tried practicing last night and succeeded, Jiang Xi said casually. There was nothing to hide. You succeeded in one night? Lu Shan and Jiang Sheng looked at each other in shock. As expected of a genius. Jiang Xi, on the other hand, was very calm. He wondered what kind of expression Jiang Sheng and the others would have if they knew that he had only used 4 hours. Senior Lu, Uncle Jiang, why are you looking for me? Jiang Xi was curious. Of course, we're here to congratulate you on your move. Let the deputy dojo master tell you. Jiang Sheng looked at Lu Shan. Lu Shan handed the folder in his hand to Jiang Ci and smiled. This is a gift, take a look. Jiang Ci took it and opened it. He was stunned. Genten Budokan's invitation contract. Didn't he sign it? In view of your current strength and talent, the dojo master and I have discussed and decided to increase your contract benefits. Take a look at the new benefits. Lu Shan explained with a smile. 50 million new moon dollars. After seeing the new benefits, Jiang Ci could no longer stay calm. 50 million. He and Jiang Daodu worked themselves to death, lived frugally, saved up for 6 years, and only managed to save 50,000 yuan. However, in order to replenish the energy used to upgrade his body, he had used all the savings to buy pork knuckles. Now, as long as he signed the contract, he would receive 50 million. Look at the conditions again. The money will only be transferred to your account after you become a martial artist. Lu Shan explained. Jiang Ci took a few deep breaths and finally calmed down. Becoming a martial artist was not difficult for him. In other words, Genten Budokan was giving him money. Senior Lu, this gift is too expensive. I can't accept it. Jiang Ci shook his head. When he signed the contract, the villa inside the contract did not belong to him. It was equivalent to the dormitory assigned to him after he joined Genten Budokan. That was why he could accept it with a clear conscience. However, this 50 million was different. No pain, no gain. Lu Shan and Jiang Sheng smiled happily. They admired Jiang Ci's temperament. In the face of temptation, he could quickly wake up and reject it. Such a person was hard to find in this era. Lu Shan smiled and explained, Little Jiang, don't think too much. This money is the martial arts club's investment in you. When you grow up in the future, the value you bring to the martial arts club will be more than 50 million. You have to look further. When you become a martial artist, you will know that 50 million is just a small amount of money for many powerful martial artists. It is not enough. Moreover, with your talent, you can definitely afford this treatment. Jiang Sheng also smiled. Lu Shan nodded gently. This was also what he was worried about. As everyone knew, martial arts talent was only potential. Whether one could become a martial artist or how strong one could become after becoming a martial artist, these were all unknown. Potential was only potential. Strength was true ability. And Jiang Ci had already started to transform this potential into strength. He was only a prospective martial artist, but he had already defeated a veteran F-class martial artist. To be honest, when Lu Shan saw the video of Jiang Ci and Shen Quan's battle, he was also shocked. This kind of person could no longer be called a genius, but a monster. He had to increase the treatment and keep Jiang Ci firmly in Genten Budokan. Otherwise, when some of the major martial artist forces in Tsukushin Budokan reacted, they might kidnap Jiang Ci. Okay. I'll sign it. Jiang Ci did not refuse. He picked up the pen and prepared to sign. Lu Shan and Jiang Sheng had already said it so clearly. If he continued to refuse, it would seem pretentious. Don't worry. There is still one more item. You can finish reading it first. Lu Shan smiled. Chapter 23. There was one more item. Jiang Ci flipped to the last page, and his breath caught in his throat. After becoming a martial artist, Party B can choose an unlimited collection of secret manuals from Genten Budokan's internal market, including but not limited to methods of drawing chi, martial techniques, and so on. Unlimited collection of secret manuals? In Jiang Ci's opinion, this item was worth more than 50 million. Secret manuals such as methods of drawing chi and martial techniques were important factors that affected a martial artist's ability. Secret manuals were divided into basic, beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels. For example, advanced secret manuals could not be bought outside even if one had money. Jiang Xi signed his name without hesitation. Lu Shan chuckled. He was in the bag now. Then, he took one of the two contracts, and Jiang Xi kept the other one. After Lu Shan turned and left, Jiang Xing suddenly said, "Little Jiang, actually, the deputy club master specially requested the club master to apply to the headquarters and get it for you. Because the Genten Budokan of Pak Sun province is targeted at martial arts geniuses, the most you can get is an intermediate collection of secret manuals, but you can choose an advanced collection of secret manuals." Jiang Xi was stunned. Looking at Lu Shan's back, he felt that the contract in his hand was heavy. There was no need for words to express his gratitude. He would remember this in his heart. The next moment, he laughed again. 50 million for a collection of secret manuals. He just had to wait for the martial artist's identity. "Little Jiang, there's another thing I need to remind you of," Jiang Xing said solemnly. Jiang Xi was still immersed in the joy of the new contract, and looked at him doubtfully. "Some time ago, we found out that Shen Quan, who you killed, had a younger brother who was also a martial artist. He spent most of his time in the wilderness, and his ability is unknown. When you become a martial artist, you have to be careful." Jiang Xing's words made Riverward raise some vigilance in his heart. "Thank you for your reminder, Uncle Jiang. I'll remember it." It seemed that he had to improve his ability as soon as possible. Thinking about his strength, Jiang Xi smiled and said, "Uncle Jiang, I would like to ask you about the areas that I need to pay attention to in the martial artist assessment. Also, I need to learn movement techniques." Learning movement techniques. Jiang Xi had realized the importance of movement techniques during his last battle with Shen Quan. If he had a movement technique at that time, perhaps he wouldn't have been so miserable. If we can't win, we can still run, can't we? A martial artist must be able to fight and run at the same time. Offensive martial skills and movement martial skills are indispensable. As for Shen Guang, he would consider that in the future. Now that Shen Guang was in the wastelands and in the city, he wouldn't be able to get in touch with him. In the blink of an eye, half a month passed. Beishan number 1. Since it was already summer vacation, there were only a few people in the huge campus. On this day, there were suddenly a lot of people in the third year's school building. That was because today was the day the third-year high school graduates filled in their application form and received their graduation certificate. "Hey, Hohot, which university did you apply for? It's none of your business. I don't even like you. Stop pestering me. You've misunderstood. I'm just asking. Otherwise, if I go to the same university as you, my life will be too miserable." The results of the liberal arts college entrance exam were out? The students who had the chance to go to university gathered together and discussed excitedly. The students who didn't get in hid in the corners silently, licking the wounds in their hearts. "Who has seen Jiang Xi?" Suddenly, someone in the class asked. Many people were stunned for a moment, then immediately became lively. "I heard that he didn't take the liberal arts college entrance exam this year. This year, he won't be able to go to university or the College of Martial Arts. He has to repeat for another year." "I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the video that went viral a while ago. Is that young martial artist who died Jiang Xi? I think he looks like Jiang Xi." "Impossible. Jiang Xi may be the first person to get full marks for martial arts in the history of the college entrance exam, but martial arts talent is just potential. It doesn't mean that he will definitely become a martial artist. He hasn't even gone to the College of Martial Arts. How can he be a martial artist? He just looks like one." "That's true. How old is Jiang Xi? Even if he goes to the College of Martial Arts, many people can only become martial artists in their third or fourth year. Some people might not even become martial artists by the time they graduate." The students discussed animatedly. At that moment, their homeroom teacher, Meng Shanjun, arrived. The classroom immediately quieted down. "Don't be shy, everyone." Meng Shanjun was surprisingly kind. With a smile on his face, he started handing out graduation certificates to everyone. This year's college entrance exam gave him a lot of face. Because Jiang Ci was his student, he became Pak Sun Province's #1 celebrity homeroom teacher in one leap. Although Jiang Ci missed the social sciences college entrance exam and did not have the chance to go to the College of Martial Arts, it was not a big deal. "Teacher Meng, didn't Jiang Ci and Zhang Wei come?" The class monitor suddenly asked after the graduation certificates were handed out. "Oh, they came early in the morning. They sat in my office for a while and then left," Meng Shanjun said with a smile. "Then Jiang Ci will repeat next year. Will he still be in Beishan #1? A student asked. "Repeat? He's not going to school anymore. He's about to take the martial artist assessment and become a martial artist." Meng Shanjuan's smile did not change. Martial artist assessment. Becoming a martial artist. Two heavy punches landed heavily on the students' chests. Everyone fell silent. Jiang Ci's social sciences grades had topped the rankings for 3 consecutive years. He was definitely on the level of a prodigy. Moreover, he suddenly got full marks for martial arts talent. He became a martial arts genius that no one dared to challenge. At that time, many people were guessing which college of martial arts Jiang Ci would go to. Unexpectedly, Jiang Ci missed the social sciences college entrance exam and did not have the chance to be admitted to the College of Martial Arts this year. Later, when everyone heard that Jiang Ci had suffered such a setback, many students were secretly delighted. This was because they could already look forward to a better life in college or the College of Martial Arts. Jiang Ci still had to endure another year in his 3rd year of high school. But now, Meng Shanjuan's words pulled them back from their ridiculous dreams. The reality was that Jiang Ci had already jumped out of their circle and was going to become a martial artist. That was another world. It was a world that many of them could only look at but not reach. They might not even be able to touch it for the rest of their lives. Could it be that the young martial artist in the video is really Jiang Ci? "Jiang Ci, why do you think it's so hard for me?" On the way back to Genten Budokan, Zhang Wei had a bitter expression on his face. "It's your fault for not working hard in the past. Now, you're so close to being able to participate in the martial arts assessment." Jiang Ci chuckled. The martial arts assessment in Pak Sun Province was the day after tomorrow. In the martial arts assessment, martial arts talent became secondary. The main test was strength and speed, followed by actual combat ability. Zhang Wei's strength was already enough, but his speed was still a little bit lacking. "Wait for the martial arts assessment at the end of the year." Jiang Ci laughed. "I'll be in Shuntian at the end of the year. At that time, I can only participate in the martial arts assessment at Shuntian Prefecture." "Ci, I originally wanted to go with you. At the actual combat assessment, I can still rely on you." Zhang Wei sighed. In the actual combat assessment, one had to fight with monsters. There was a certain degree of danger. Because it was the first time for many people, it was easy for them to get injured, or even die. After returning to Genten Budokan, Zhang Wei plunged into the training area of the 3rd building to increase his speed. He was really stimulated by Jiang Ci. Since the day Jiang Ci fainted, he had not relaxed. Jiang Ci was also happy to see this scene. Because with the experience panel, his speed of improvement was destined to be very fast. If the people around him did not work hard, they would easily be left behind by him. If they did not work hard, they would fall behind. Chapter 24. In Jiang Ci's opinion, between friends, if there is no equal status and strength, and if the gap is too big, then, after a long time, this kind of friendship will gradually drift apart. He had such an experience in his previous life. After graduating from university, he had a good friend who was promoted very quickly. In just 3 years, he became the vice president of a large company. While he himself was still struggling to survive, he still had to work in the city to earn extra money. The gap in status caused their contact to gradually decrease. In the beginning, they would occasionally chat online, play games, and so on. But gradually, they stopped contacting each other. Because they were no longer in the same circle, they were not on the same level. Therefore, right now, Jiangxi didn't want to be alone after he became strong. He didn't even have a friend and would feel lonely and empty. Even if Zhang Wei did not work hard, Jiang Xi would still force him to practice. Even Jiang Dudu, Jiang Xi also made plans. After he became a martial artist, he would also let Jiang Dudu undergo martial arts training to improve her martial arts talent. Jiang Xi's heart became more and more determined. He went to the training hall and began to practice his swordsmanship and movement skills. During this time, he also became a training maniac. In the morning, he practiced the basic mental cultivation method at home. According to his current physical strength, he would reach his limit after practicing 3 cycles a day. Each cycle would give him 3 experience points, a total of 9 points. In the morning, he practiced the basic swordsmanship 300 times in the dojo. Each 100 times would give him 3 experience points, a total of 9 points. In the afternoon, he practiced the basic martial arts 300 times in the dojo. Each 100 times would give him 3 experience points, a total of 9 points. In summary, he could currently gain 27 experience points by practicing every day. It seemed like a lot, but Jiang Xi knew that it was far from enough. To level up an F-class martial artist, he needed a total of 2,100 experience points. In the future, when he learned new martial arts techniques, the required experience points would also increase greatly. After all, the basics were always the simplest. Level, Skin Tempering, F-class, 3612100. Martial Arts, Basic Mental Cultivation Method. Martial Arts, Basic Fist Technique, Combine 50-50, Basic Swordsmanship, Combine 100100, Basic Martial Arts, Combine 100100, Force Exertion, 100% Experience Points, 57. In less than half a month, Jiang Xi had raised his newly learned basic movement technique to the perfect unity realm. At the same time, the basic swordsmanship had also reached perfection. If I were to fight with Shen Quan again, I wouldn't be in such a sorry state. I'm just waiting for the warrior assessment. Year 92 of the New Moon Era, July 1st. The weather turned from drizzling to sunny with a light breeze. Morning, Zhenten Budokan, Tongtian District. Because it was summer vacation, Jiang Dudu had to stay in bed until 10 o'clock almost every day. Today, she woke up early to make breakfast for Jiang Xi. After dinner, when Jiang Xi went out, Jiang Dudu stared at Jiang Xi and said, "Brother, come back soon." "All right." Jiang Xi waved his hand and set off for the Warrior Association. The first stage of the Warrior Assessment would be held there. He had already understood the rules of the Warrior Assessment in detail from Jiang Sheng. The Warrior Assessment was divided into 2 stages. The first stage, Physical Fitness Assessment, included strength and speed. The second stage, Actual Combat Assessment. Half an hour later, he arrived at the square in front of the Warrior Association. There were already many people there, waiting for the first stage of the assessment to begin. Jiang Xi observed for a while. There were about 2,000 people there, and they were all very old. Some of them were obviously nearing 30 years old. Jiang Xi's arrival made the people in the square take a few more glances. Jiang Xi was too young. Youth was also a kind of talent. "Jiang Xi, why are you here?" A muscular young man walked over from afar. "I'm here for the warrior assessment." "I didn't expect Brother Zheng to be here too." Jiang Xi nodded. Zheng Ming was surprised. "I remember that you just took the Martial Science College entrance examination last month. Your physical fitness has already met the requirements for the warrior assessment." Although he heard that Jiang Xi was very talented in martial arts talent was only potential. It did not represent actual strength. Zheng Ming did not believe that Jiang Xi could improve so quickly in just a month. "More or less. I'm more talented," Jiang Xi said with a smile. "Hey, you're really annoying. I've taken the warrior assessment 3 times and I've been eliminated in the first stage every time. Zheng Ming was a little helpless. Brother Zheng, you'll definitely pass this time. Thank you. If I really pass, I'll treat you to a drink the next time we go to the dojo. Jiang Xi smiled. Zheng Ming was a member of Genten Budokan. He often trained at Building 3's professional training center. The two of them had met many times and were quite familiar with each other. At that moment, two middle-aged men walked out of the Warrior Association. One was muscular, the other was skinny. Jiang Xi knew them. They were Yan Gang, the deputy dojo master of Longxiang Martial Arts Dojo, and Song Hai, the dojo master of Yunshan Martial Arts Dojo. Last time, these two men and Jiang Xinyue, the deputy dojo master of Tsukushin Budokan, went to Genten Budokan to invite him. During this period of time, he had learned a lot about the martial arts world in Pak Sun Province. For example, Yan Gang was the deputy director of Pak Sun Province's Martial Practitioners Supervision Bureau, and Song Hai was the director of the Martial Arts Affairs Bureau. Of course, the Martial Practitioners Supervision Bureau had a lot of power. Even the deputy director had more power than Song Hai's Martial Arts Affairs Bureau. Line up properly. Yan Gang shouted. Soon, the people who came to take the warrior assessment lined up neatly. The Martial Artist Inspection Bureau and the Martial Artist Affairs Bureau will be in charge of the martial artist assessment this time. I advise you not to play any tricks. Otherwise, even if you pass the first stage of the assessment, you will be killed by monsters in the second stage due to your lack of strength. At that time, don't blame me for not warning you. Yan Gang said in a low voice. Jiang Xi noticed that, as expected, some people in the crowd looked a little flustered. There would always be people who would take risks because the identity of a warrior would make a qualitative leap in one's life. Ordinary people had to work hard for half their lives to accumulate a certain amount of wealth and climb to a certain level of social status. But it was different for warriors. As long as they had the identity of a warrior, they would immediately be invited by some big forces or work in some big companies in society. They would receive a high salary and change their lives. At the same time, the staff of the Martial Arts Association quickly brought out the equipment used for the assessment. Strength testers and speed testers. There were 10 of each, and they were lined up in 2 rows on the square. More than 2,000 people taking the warrior assessment were divided into 10 teams and tested one by one. Jiang Xi was in the middle of the first team. The person in charge of the assessment was a one-armed warrior. He looked very strict. He did not even raise his head as he shouted, "Ma Cheng. First test the strength, then test the speed." Ma Cheng punched the strength tester 3 times with all his strength, then ran at full speed on the speed tester. 2 minutes later, the one-armed warrior said, "Ma Cheng, strength 910 kilograms, speed 25. 1 meter per second, pass." Next, Han Ningxue. A short-haired girl who was neatly dressed walked up to take the test. She wore a bell bracelet on her right wrist. When she walked, it jingled and attracted attention. After a while, the one-armed warrior said in surprise, "Han Ningxue, strength 1002 kilograms, speed 25. 9 meters per second, pass." This was an extreme quasi-warrior. Quasi-warriors only needed to reach strength 900 kilograms and speed 25 meters per second. But after that, it was very difficult to increase one's strength. Only people with high martial arts talent had the chance to charge towards the limit of 1,000 kilograms. This 100 kilograms difference differentiated the level of talent. Jiang Xi took a few more glances. He did not expect that there would be other extreme quasi-warriors other than himself. Of course, that was in the past. Now, he was already an F-grade warrior. Chapter 25. Which school are you from? The warrior with the broken arm asked. Teacher, I'm a sophomore from Hokuzen Budo Academy's combat faculty, Han Ningxue. Han Ningxue said loudly. Good. You can leave now. Do well in the combat assessment. Yes. Han Ningxue left without hesitation. She attracted a lot of attention. After all, there were too few ultimate potential martial artists. Sometimes, there was not even one in a year. The last time an ultimate potential martial artist appeared in Pak Sun province was 3 years ago. Jiang Xi blinked. This girl named Han Ningxue was not someone to be trifled with. A student from Hokuzen Budo Academy? Almost half of the people who took the martial artist assessment were students from the College of Martial Arts. The rest were potential martial artists nurtured by various martial artist factions. There were also a few martial arts enthusiasts among the people, such as Jingming. If I did not miss the college entrance examination, I would have been accepted by Hokuzen Budo Academy, right? Jiang Xi thought to himself. Life was indeed unpredictable. He had always wanted to go to the College of Martial Arts, but he did not manage to do so in the end. Of course, if he wanted to go, he could have stayed in the 3rd year of high school. However, under Jiang Xing's persuasion, he gave up on that plan. Why did he want to go to the College of Martial Arts? Wasn't it to become a martial artist? You already have the ability of a martial artist. Why waste your time at the College of Martial Arts? You want to compete for resources with those juniors who did not become martial artists? These were the words that Jiang Sheng had advised him at the time. Even if you go to the College of Martial Arts, most of the students can only become martial artists after their 3rd year. Some of them are even ordinary people after graduation. Jiang Xi shook his head. However, this Han Ningxue was definitely a genius. The assessment was carried out quickly. One person took 2 minutes. Humph. You're not qualified to take stimulants. You're banned from participating in the warrior assessment for 3 years. The one-armed martial artist said coldly. The young man who had just finished the test had a pale face. In the end, he lowered his head and left quietly 3 years. Many people's hearts trembled. 18 to 30 years old was the best age to become a martial artist. The earlier, the better. 3 years later, he would miss out on a lot of things. At this moment, Jiang Xi noticed that some people were starting to leave quietly. Participation in the warrior assessment was voluntary, and no one would stop them. After a group of people left, the assessment time was shortened. By 3 in the afternoon, there weren't many people left in the square who hadn't taken the test yet. Jiang Xi was in the queue. After the test, it would be his turn. Next, Jingming. The one-armed martial artist shouted. Jingming immediately became a little excited. If one looked carefully, his hands were trembling. Jiang Xi immediately understood that this guy had a phobia of exams. No wonder he was eliminated 3 times in a row. Good luck, brother Zhang. Yes. Jingming stood in front of the strength tester and punched with all his might. Jiang Xi nodded gently. He could see that Jingming's punches were very powerful. His strength was definitely enough to pass the first stage of the assessment. The next stage was the speed test. One look and one could tell that Jingming was weak. After he stepped on the speed tester, he was very nervous. Brother Zhang, good luck. Jiang Xi shouted. Jingming took a deep breath and began to run. He kept exerting force on his feet and in the end, his entire body was thrown out. Jingming, strength 933 kilograms, speed 25 meters per second. Pass. The one-armed martial artist chuckled. He had seen Jingming fail 3 times in a row. Jingming waved his fist and left the testing area excitedly. Congratulations. Jiang Xi smiled. Haha, thanks to your voice. I'll treat you to a drink when we get back. Jingming laughed. Wang Qi. Strength 1000 kilograms, speed 25. 8 meters per second. Pass. At this moment, another group of martial artists in charge of the assessment raised their voices. Their voices traveled very far. It attracted everyone's attention. Another peak potential martial artist. The young man named Wang Qi left the testing area proudly. On the high platform in the square, Yan Gang nodded satisfactorily. Not bad. Yan Gang, Is he from your Dragon Elephant dojo? Song Hai asked curiously. Why? Are you jealous? Song Hai was speechless for a long time. Jiang Ci is here too. Yan Gang suddenly said. Although Song Hai did not want to bother with Yan Gang, he still looked in the direction Yan Gang was pointing at. Next, Jiang Ci. The one-armed martial artist raised his head and shouted. Recently, Jiang Ci had become a celebrity in Pak Sun Province's martial arts world. Full marks for martial arts talent. A person that he Changxing remembered by the A-class elite. Most of the people present had never seen Jiang Ci before. It was their first time seeing him. In an instant, everyone's gaze turned towards him. Martial arts talent was potential, it did not represent strength. Everyone doubted whether Jiang Ci's strength was compatible with a full marks for martial arts talent. Zheng Ming was the same. He wanted to know how strong River Word was now. Under everyone's gaze, Jiang Ci calmly and steadily walked into the testing area. Jiang Ci, please use all your strength to hit the strength tester. The one-armed martial artist also became serious and used the word please. Jiang Ci nodded and stood in front of the strength tester in a relaxed manner. He gently clenched his fist and suddenly threw out a punch. His strength was concentrated in an instant. 10 kg. The eye-catching number on the strength tester shocked everyone. Although the speed had not been measured, this strength was enough to prove that Jiang Ci was also a peak potential martial artist. And he was much stronger than Han Ningxue and Wang Qi. How old was Jiang Ci? He was only 18 years old. What about Han Ningxue and Wang Qi? It was obvious that they were slightly older than Jiang Ci. As expected of someone with full marks for martial arts talent. This time, no one doubted him anymore. Soon, Jiang Ci's speed was also tested. 26, 2 ms. It was also the speed of a peak potential martial artist. Jiang Ci. Strength 1010 kilograms. Speed 26. 2 meters per second pass. The one-armed martial artist shouted. Jiang Ci smiled and left the testing area. He was very relaxed. Because he had only used 30% of his strength. After breaking through to F class, his strength had increased exponentially. Level, Skin Refining, F, 391210, his current level gave him a strength of 3,900 kilograms. His speed had also reached 29 meters per second. Only Jiang Daodu, Zhang Wei, Jiang Sheng, and Lu Shan knew about this. If he had listened to the one-armed martial artist and used all his strength, the square would have been in an uproar. It was just a martial artist assessment. There was no benefit in exposing his strength. He had only participated to obtain a martial artist status. There was no need to attract attention. On the stage, Yan Gang suddenly scolded, "What the fuck?" Such a good seedling was snatched away by those bastards from Genten Budokan. I heard that Genten Budokan gave Jiang Ci a new contract. You can also spend a lot of money to sign him. Song Hai laughed. You scoundrel, stop fanning the flames. Don't take me for a fool. Yan Gang sneered. Humph. Song Hai snorted and ignored him. After another half an hour, all the participants had completed the first stage of the assessment. 2,351 people signed up for the assessment. 1,427 people passed the first stage. Very good, you all have the strength of a potential martial artist. However, the second stage is the most important part of the assessment. It's the actual combat assessment. The location of the assessment is the North Mountain Army's barracks. Let's go. Yan Gang stood on the stage and waved his hand. The potential martial artists boarded the train to the North Mountain Army's barracks. Chapter 26. This was a special train. More than 1,000 people filled every compartment of the rail car. Those who knew each other would whisper to each other to discuss how to deal with the upcoming combat assessment. However, most of the people were resting with their eyes closed. Jiang Xi was no exception. He lowered his head and closed his eyes, waiting quietly. The rail car of this era was similar to a light rail or a high-speed rail, but it had a higher load capacity and a speed of more than 500 km per hour. Moreover, the sound was very soft. Inside the car, no sound could be heard from the outside. "You're Jiang Xi." Accompanied by the crisp sound of a bell, a pleasant voice sounded in front of Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi looked up. It was the female student from Hokuzen Budo Academy, the ultimate potential martial artist Han Ningxue. "Hello, what's the matter?" Jiang Xi was very polite. "Are you interested in a competition? Let's see whose combat assessment results are better." Han Ningxue was very direct. "Not interested." Jiang Xi shook his head. "Are you a man? You're such a coward." "Hee hee." Jiang Xi chuckled, lowered his head, and closed his eyes. It seemed that young people were indeed arrogant. No one was willing to give in to the other. Han Ningxue was so angry that she left. In the distance, a vigorous young man looked at Jiang Xi with a gloomy face. It was the other ultimate potential martial artist, Wang Qi. "Full marks for martial arts talent." "Humph, I want to see if you're better than me." The little episode in the car made the others feel amused. At the same time, they were also envious. After all, it was a competition between two ultimate potential martial artists. 2 hours later, someone suddenly exclaimed, "Look! The city wall." Suddenly, everyone woke up and quickly looked out of the car window. Under the afterglow of the setting sun, a city wall that was 100 meters tall stood in front of them. It was endless and there was no end in sight. Jiang Xi was also a little shocked. 6 years after his rebirth, he had never seen this city wall with his own eyes. It was known as the first miracle of the new era. Before becoming a martial artist, they were not allowed to leave the city. They could only look at pictures and videos on the internet and the news. The 100-meter-high city wall formed a circle along Pak Sun province. Inside the city walls was the home of mankind, the last place of shelter. Outside the city walls was the monsters' playground, the wilderness. Other than the warriors, the only thing that kept the monsters in the wilderness out of the city and protected the safety of humans was this city wall. Of course, it wasn't just Pak Sun province. The 7 prefectural cities of the Xia Kingdom and all the major cities in the world had similar defensive walls. Seeing the city walls meant that they weren't far from the wilderness. After a while, when the rail car passed through the passage under the city wall, it slowly stopped. "We've arrived. Everyone, get off the bus." An order came from the broadcast system in the carriage. The prospective martial artists were all excited and curious as they got out of the car and looked around. "That is, a monster. Look at the sky, what a huge bird. It's much more realistic than the pictures online. Take a video and post it online. It'll definitely go viral." People kept exclaiming. "I didn't expect that the legendary Northern Mountain Army's barracks would be outside the city and not inside." Zheng Ming was also surprised. Jiang Xi did not say anything. He looked around and saw that it was a large barracks. In the distance, there were groups of soldiers training. What alarmed River Word was that there were quite a number of soldiers among them. They were all martial artists. The Northern Mountain Army was indeed powerful. In the Xia Kingdom, the most powerful martial artist faction was not the Genten Budokan faction, but the military martial artists. Outside the military camp, monsters roared under the light of the setting sun. Further away in the sky, there were some flying monsters. They were hovering in the air, constantly letting out sharp whistles. However, none of them dared to approach the barracks. That was because the fortifications in front of the barracks were filled with all kinds of heavy firearms. Moreover, there were many martial artists there, so they were not afraid of those monsters. "Quiet. Everyone, line up." Suddenly, a burly man in a military uniform walked up to them and shouted. His face was resolute, and he exuded an iron-blooded aura. He must have gone through many battles to have such an aura. Under such deterrence, the potential martial artists did not dare to say anything and immediately lined up in an orderly manner. I'm Zhao Yan, the deputy commander of the Northern Mountain Army. I'm in charge of your actual combat assessment. Before that, let me say something else. The burly man's voice was like thunder, ringing in everyone's ears. Everyone turned to look at Zhao Yan. Zhao Yan said with a serious expression, when the assessment is over, most of you should be able to become martial artists. I'm sure that by then, martial artists from all over the world will flock to invite you. What I want to say is, if you can, please consider joining the Northern Mountain Army. Become a martial artist in the army. Soldiers protect our country and our country. When monsters attack, the martial artists in the army will rush to the front lines and protect our families behind us. Martial artists in the army will exchange their lives for the best treatment. The Northern Mountain Army belongs to the Xia Kingdom. As long as you join us, we will provide you with the best cultivation resources, secret manuals, life potions, and even precious natural treasures. As long as you want it, you can exchange it for merit points. Many people were tempted by his words. After all, most people were not geniuses. Even if they joined a martial artist faction, it would be difficult for them to obtain good cultivation manuals and cultivation resources. However, if they became martial artists in the army, it would be different. They could use merit points to exchange for these things that were important to martial artists. Commander Zhao, I've dreamed of becoming a soldier since I was young. I'm willing to join the Northern Mountain Army. Someone immediately raised his hand and shouted. Me too. I want to join. Many of the 1,427 potential martial artists raised their hands. After counting, there were more than 500 people. After waiting for a while, when no one else raised their hands, Zhao Yan smiled. Good. Those who are willing to join, report to the barracks after passing the actual combat assessment. 500 people was far more than they had expected. Zhao Yan continued, now, let's talk about the actual combat assessment requirements. The test will be held in the practice field next to the military camp. We've reared 3,000 F-class monsters there. Each monster has a metal plate that represents 1 point. What you have to do is kill these F-grade monsters. You will be awarded a point iron plate. You will pass the actual combat assessment if you get 3 points or more. The assessment will start at 6 p.m. today and end at 6 a.m. tomorrow. A total of 12 hours. After hearing this, Jiang Xi did a quick calculation. 3,000 monsters meant 3,000 points. There were 1,427 potential martial artists who would take part in the actual combat assessment. They would be given a minimum of 3 points each. In theory, there would be 1,000 people who could pass the assessment. The passing rate would be 70%. However, the actual passing rate would definitely be lower than this. This was because many people would only get 1 or 2 points, which would consume a lot of points. At the same time, there would definitely be people who would exceed 3 points and consume a lot of points. It would be considered good if the passing rate was 60%. It might even be 50%. Chapter 27. Before entering the training grounds, please go to the armory and choose your battle equipment. The crowd came to the armory at the side. It was huge. On one side, there were commonly used cold weapons like knives, swords, staffs, clubs, hammers, axes, etc. On the other side, there were standard black combat uniforms and other supporting equipment. Combat uniforms, weapons, and tactical communications watches. Everyone will have one set. After you have chosen, please register with me. The military martial artist in charge of the armory said loudly at the door. There was no need to choose the combat uniforms and tactical communications watches. They were all the same. They only needed to choose the weapons. Jiang Xi went straight to the sword-type weapons rack. There's actually an E-grade killer shadow sword. Not bad. Jiang Ci was very satisfied. With a suitable weapon, one could better unleash one's strength. The E-grade killer shadow sword was stronger and heavier than the F-grade ones. Correspondingly, its lethality and toughness were also on a higher level. Of course, the requirements to use it were also higher. It was difficult for a normal prospective martial artist to wield it. However, Jiang Ci's strength was already that of an F-grade martial artist. There was no problem at all. He gently waved it a few times. It felt good. He then changed into his combat uniform and went to register with the military martial artist. The military martial artist in the armory said, "E-grade killer shadow sword. Little brother, did you get the wrong one? It's so heavy. Can you even wield it?" "That's right. This is it. Please help me register." Jiang Ci smiled and waved it a few times. The military martial artist widened his eyes. After more than 1,000 people finished choosing their battle equipment, they came to the entrance of the training grounds. At this time, the sun had already set. However, the moon had yet to rise. The sky was a little dark. They could vaguely hear the roars of monsters coming from the distant darkness, rising and falling one after another. Zhao Yan stood at a high place and said loudly, "Last reminder. First, killing each other is prohibited. Everything in the training grounds is monitored by surveillance cameras. If you are discovered, you will never be able to participate in the martial artist assessment. You will also have to bear the corresponding legal responsibilities. Second, during the assessment, if your life is in danger, you can use your tactical communications watch to call for help. However, once you call for help, it means that you have failed the assessment. However, I hope that everyone will not be stubborn. As long as you are alive, there will be a next time. Now, the actual combat assessment begins. I hope that everyone can come back alive." The door of the practice field made of alloy slowly opened. More than 1,000 prospective martial artists entered the practice field with either excitement, calmness, or fear. Everyone quickly spread out to search for monsters. "Brother Zheng, are you sure you don't want to come with me?" Jiang Ci asked, the killing shadow sword sheathed on his back. "No, this combat assessment is equivalent to a rehearsal for entering the wilderness. The degree of danger is far less than the wilderness. If we need help even for this, then when we enter the wilderness, we will have no one to rely on. We can only wait for death," Zheng Ming said solemnly. Then, with a determined expression, he charged into the darkness ahead. Zheng Ming's words also made Jiang Ci put away his contemptuous attitude and began to treat this assessment seriously. That's right. This was a rehearsal for entering the wastelands. If he held an attitude of disdain now, could he guarantee that he would correct his attitude when he actually entered the wastelands? Jiang Ci gave himself a warning. The recent period of smooth sailing had made him a little careless. He was no longer as cautious as before. His life was the most important. "Let's go." Jiang Ci's gaze became resolute again. He exerted force on his feet and his figure quickly disappeared from the spot. The two moons rose. Under the bright moonlight, the broken walls and dilapidated buildings appeared extremely desolate. This is a dilapidated town. Looking at the architectural style, it should have been left behind from the old era. It was destroyed when monsters invaded. Jiang Ci was not like the others who were busy searching for monsters. He was observing the environment. The urban environment is densely packed with buildings. The space is narrow. When fighting, movement techniques are even more important. Soon, Jiang Ci confirmed the characteristics of the environment. Then, let's test my current strength. Jiang Ci took a few steps and climbed up a low building that only had half of it left. He looked around, there is an F-grade monster there. It is very similar to the mutated wolfhound in Shilu Market. It should be a fully evolved bloodthirsty wolfhound. Jiang Ci jumped down and at the same time, he raised his hand and drew his sword. He charged straight at the bloodthirsty wolfhound. The bloodthirsty wolfhound also noticed Jiang Xi. Its red fur stood on end. It had red eyes and fangs. It looked very fierce. The characteristics of F-grade monsters are that they are bloodthirsty and crazy. They only know how to kill and have low intelligence. If a potential martial artist is not strong or has a weak mind, it is very easy for them to be injured or even killed during their first encounter with a monster. Jiang Xi treated it seriously. This was not his first time fighting. There are surveillance cameras. I should control my strength and speed. If someone sees my true strength, it will be troublesome to explain. I only need to use the strength and speed of a potential martial artist. It will be enough. The bloodthirsty wolfhound roared. Its red eyes were even brighter under the moonlight. It opened its bloody mouth and pounced at Jiang Xi in a crazed bloodthirsty manner. Let's test my movement techniques first. Jiang Xi did not immediately attack. He turned around gently and nimbly dodged the attack. His body moved according to his heart. After he perfected his basic movement techniques, with his current strength and speed, he could easily deal with the bloodthirsty wolfhound's attacks. The bloodthirsty wolfhound's attacks were very simple: pounce, scratch, tear, and bite. After a while, Jiang Xi suddenly took a step forward and stabbed with the killing shadow sword. With a poochie sound, the sword pierced through the head of the bloodthirsty wolfhound, the hardest part. E-grade alloy weapon can easily break through the defense of an F-grade monster. After the monsters were nourished by the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, their bodies became stronger. It was very difficult for a normal weapon to break through the skin of a monster. Jiang Xi once saw a video. Some powerful monsters could even withstand a rain of bullets and attack humans. You killed an F-grade bloodthirsty wolfhound, experience points plus 10, the panel notification sounded. Only 10 experience points? That's right. With my current strength, killing these F-grade monsters is too easy. If the difficulty is low, the experience points will naturally be low. Jiang Xi did not mind. He took the iron plate from the bloodthirsty wolfhound and quickly left to look for other monsters. F-grade monster, blood-tusked boar. Its skin is thick and it has great strength. Its defense is even higher than the bloodthirsty wolfhound's. Its weakness is that it is not agile, but the E-grade killing shadow sword can break through its defense. And my movement technique just so happens to counter its weakness. Jiang Xi held his sword and faced a 2-meter-tall blood-tusked boar in front of him. Soon, the blood-tusked boar fell to the ground. Search for the next monster. After a while. F-grade monster, Shadow Cat. Its defense is weak, but it is very agile. My advantage in movement technique is not that obvious. Since I don't have a good choice, then I'll use my strongest attack. At the same time, more than 1,000 prospective martial artists were fighting with all their might in the training field. Some of the people with weaker willpower were quickly injured or killed. Some were even killed by the monsters directly. Ha! A well-built woman leaped high into the air. Using the momentum of her descent, she smashed her right fist heavily on the head of a blood-tusk wild boar, causing it to fall to the ground. She then followed up with 2 more punches, directly killing it. It was Haningshua, a second-year student from Hokuzen Budo Academy. She wore alloy gloves on her fists. I must get first place and prove that I am the most outstanding person. Martial arts talent does not mean anything. Hard work is the most important thing. Haningshua grabbed the iron plate and left without stopping for a moment. So what if you have full marks for martial arts talent? Who knows how many talented people have died early because of their weak willpower? I don't believe that a high school graduate like you can have a strong willpower. Maybe you will be so scared that you will pee your pants when you face a monster. I will let you know what it means to be a true ultimate prospective martial artist. Wang Qi pulled the blade out of the bloodthirsty wolfhound's corpse and gently wiped away the blood on the blade. Chapter 28. In a practice hall in the Northern Mountains Army's military camp. The several large screens were divided into many smaller screens. All the prospective martial artists in the training ground were being monitored. Zhao Yan, Yen Gang, and Song Hai stood there and watched carefully. "There, put the surveillance video on the main screen," Yen Gang suddenly said. Soon, a young man appeared on the main screen. He was fighting with a blood-tusk wild boar. The young man was dodging the blood-tusk wild boar's barbaric charge with his nimble movement technique. At the same time, the long sword in his hand accurately landed on the blood-tusk wild boar's body. The basic movement technique of the Unity Realm? No, it's the consummation of the Unity Realm. Who is this young man? The Northern Mountains Army wants him. Zhao Yan's eyes flashed. He's the Jiang CI that President He mentioned. However, Commander Zhao, you're too late. He was signed by the Genten Budokan a month ago. Song Hai said hatefully. I didn't expect Jiang Xi's basic movement technique to have reached the consummation of the Unity Realm. His basic swordsmanship is obviously stronger than last month. The Genten Budokan really got a good deal. Yen Gang sighed. Zhao Yan fell silent as he thought about something. Although he spent most of his time in the military camp, he had heard of Jiang Xi's name. He even knew that Jiang Xi had killed an F-class martial artist some time ago. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he realized that Jiang Xi was even stronger than the rumors. Just look at how Jiang Xi killed the blood-tusk wild boar with ease. At such a young age, his basic movement technique and basic swordsmanship had reached the Unity Realm. Many F-class and E-class martial artists could not do this. Some E-class martial artists even had the minute subtlety realm in their basic movement technique. Moreover, it could be seen that Jiang Xi's battle thinking was very clear. When facing different monsters, he would use different fighting methods. Unlike many people who had been martial artists for many years, they did not have a mature battle thinking. This was what attracted Zhao Yan the most. Compared to martial arts talent, he valued a person's comprehension ability more. It was obvious that Jiang Xi's comprehension ability was very good. Genten Budokan. With Senior Xian Tian's temper, trying to poach someone from his dojo is harder than ascending to the heavens. Zhao Yan shook his head. The young people of this era were already used to having 2 moons. Only Jiang Xi would occasionally raise his head to take a closer look, reminding himself that this was a different era. He had to treat it with caution. Act cautiously. For all the prospective martial artists participating in the actual combat assessment, this would be an unforgettable night. On the horizon, the sun was about to rise. Beep beep beep, everyone's tactical communications devices rang. The test is over. They passed through the practice field and returned to the Northern Mountain Army's barracks. After a night of fighting, many of them had more or less perseverance on their faces, and they were also much less talkative. There were also many people who had to be carried back. Some were already dead, some had minor injuries, and some had lost an arm or a leg. At the entrance of the practice field, 2 military martial artists were calculating everyone's points. Those prospective martial artists with smiles on their faces all took out 3 or more iron tokens and placed them in the baskets in front of the military martial artists. Ma Cheng, 3 points, passed the actual combat assessment. On the contrary, many people lowered their heads and left the practice field in low spirits. They did not pass the actual combat assessment. Look, that's the ultimate prospective martial artist, Wang Qi. I wonder how many monsters he killed and how many points he got. At least 10 points. I saw him from afar last night. He killed a bloodthirsty wolfhound with 2 slashes. He's very strong. Wang Qi walked out of the practice field with a proud expression. He took out a stack of iron tokens from the pocket of his combat uniform. When the iron tokens collided with each other, they made a lot of clanking sounds. Wang Qi, 36 points, passed the actual combat assessment. Instantly, it caused a commotion. What a hunting maniac! In comparison, those prospective martial artists who had passed had to spend 12 hours to grind 3 F-class monsters to death. I wonder how many monsters the other two ultimate perspective martial artists killed. Many people were curious and did not leave immediately. The one with the long sword is Jiang Ci. Someone saw Jiang Ci walking back from afar. Jiang Ci walked out of the practice field calmly under everyone's gaze. Jiang Ci, seeing how calm you are, you must have accumulated quite a lot of points, right? Zheng Ming squeezed out from the crowd. It's all right. I passed. You should have passed too, right? Jiang Ci smiled. Just nice. 3 points. I realized that after meeting you, my luck has changed. That's because Brother Zheng is strong. It's not because of me. Let's not talk about it. I'll go and tabulate the points. Jiang Ci came to the military martial artist who was in charge of tabulating the points. Beside him, Wang Qi stood there. He looked very serious as he stared at Jiang Ci. He wanted to see how strong Jiang Ci was. When he saw Jiang Ci take out his iron token, he smiled. Not as much as me. Jiang Ci, 26 points, passed the actual combat assessment. The military martial artist in charge of tabulating the results reported. He's still a little young. He's much worse than Wang Qi. 26 points is quite a lot. He's also very strong. As expected of an ultimate perspective martial artist. Everyone was talking about it. Wang Qi's smile widened. As expected, he was still the best. At that moment, a bell rang at the entrance of the training ground. Han Ningxue came out with 2 alloy boxing gloves. It's Han Ningxue. She's also an ultimate perspective martial artist, but girls are usually not good at fighting. Her points are definitely not as high as Wang Qi's, someone guessed. Han Ningxue walked briskly to the military martial artist in charge of tabulating the results and took out her iron token. Han Ningxue, 39 points, passed the actual combat assessment. Wang Qi's face darkened. He did not expect to be surpassed by a girl from the same school. 39 points. This girl is so strong. She's the most talented person. She's even better than Wang Qi. Everyone exclaimed. Han Ningxue immediately laughed when she heard that. She was first. As expected, hard work was the most important thing. In the distance, Jiang Ci shook his head gently. Last night, he had been focused on fighting against the monsters and trained his fighting mind, which had reduced the speed at which he killed monsters. However, he was not aiming for first place. What was the point of being so high profile? Whoever wanted to be first place could be first. There was no benefit to it. Hello, Jiang Ci. Commander Zhao Yan wants to see you. A military martial artist came to Jiang Ci. Jiang Ci was stunned for a moment, but he followed the man into the depths of the military camp. As soon as he left, the prospective martial artists started to talk among themselves. That was because Zhao Yan was the deputy commander of the Northern Mountain Army. He held a high position and was powerful. He was definitely one of the strongest martial artists in Pak Sun province. Why would such a powerful person want to talk to Jiang Ci? Everyone knew that being recognized by a powerful person was more important than any achievement. Even Han Ningxue and Wang Qi, who were first and second in the actual combat assessment, did not receive such treatment. Han Ningxue and Wang Qi were also a little stunned. They were not convinced. However, why was Zhao Yan looking for Jiang Ci? Everyone was curious. Chapter 29. Ningxue. I heard someone calling your name just now, so I came over to take a look. It's really you. A young military martial artist ran over from afar. Senior Zhou, long time no see. Han Ningxue smiled. This young military martial artist used to be a student of the Hokuzen Budo Academy and had already graduated. After graduating from the College of Martial Arts as martial artists, almost half of the students would join the army and become military martial artists. I heard from those people that you did well in the assessment and got first place. You're indeed the #1 genius of the Hokuzen Budo Academy. Senior Zhou praised. So what if I got first place? Your commander won't invite me over. Han Ningxue was depressed as she looked at Jiang Xi's back. This. Ningxue, I'll be honest with you. Don't compare yourself to that freak. You'll be hurt. Senior Zhou said hesitantly. Ha! I saw Jiang Xi's combat in the drill hall just now. His basic movement technique and basic sword technique are both at the Unity Realm. Our deputy commander even said that we must get Jiang Xi to join the Northern Mountains Army. A person like him can no longer be described as a genius. He's a freak. Senior Zhou smiled bitterly. Han Ningxue was silent for a while. Her basic fist technique was also at the Unity Realm. Based on this, she was considered the #1 genius of the Hokuzen Budo Academy. However, compared to sword techniques and movement techniques, fist techniques were much easier to practice. Is talent more important? No. I don't believe it. Hard work is the most important. Han Ningxue regained her confidence. Her gaze was resolute. Wang Qi had been eavesdropping for a long time. He clenched his fists tightly and gritted his teeth. His expression was getting uglier. He could have accepted Jiang Xi being at the bottom. However, he now realized that Jiang Xi was the best. The contrast between before and after caused a strong sense of jealousy and competitiveness to arise in his heart. In Zhao Yan's office. Jiang Xi, are you willing to join the Northern Mountain Army? I'll give you the best treatment. Of course, it's definitely not as good as Genten Budokan's treatment. Because we have a lot of people, everything has to be exchanged with merit points. Zhao Yan went straight to the point. Thank you for your kind intentions, Commander Zhao. However, I'm a bit undisciplined and like freedom. I might not be suitable for the military. Jiang Xi had already expected this and had already thought of an excuse. Bullshit. No matter how undisciplined a person is, I'll train them to be well-behaved when they're here. Zhao Yan glared. This. Jiang Xi was a little embarrassed. He thought for a moment and said seriously, Commander Zhao, don't worry. I'm a member of the Grand Xia Kingdom. No matter where I am, I'll fight for the Grand Xia Kingdom. It seems that my Northern Mountain Army is not fated with you. Fine, I hope you will remember your words. We will fight for Great Xia. Zhao Yan sighed. He could see Jiang Xi's firm attitude, and at the same time, he admired Jiang Xi for this. A martial artist needed such a firm attitude and belief. Jiang Xi heaved a sigh of relief. If it weren't for Jiang Dudu and the experience panel, he would have joined the Northern Mountain Army without hesitation. After all, the military was the strongest martial artist force in the Grand Xia Kingdom. However, the current situation did not allow it. Without him, how was Jiang Dudu supposed to continue living? At the same time, it was better to use the experience panel as few people as possible. It would be inconvenient if they were in the military. At the entrance of Genten Budokan, a skinny figure stretched out his head and kept looking in the direction of the Martial Artist Association. There was a faint hint of anxiety on his face. Dudu, don't worry. With Jiang Xi's strength, passing the martial artist assessment is a piece of cake. Zhang Wei said with a smile. Of course I know that. My brother is Jiang Dudu. How can he be a good-for-nothing? However, he doesn't have to wait here. Didn't you buy him a phone? I know. Maybe he forgot to call me. Jiang Dudu did not see the familiar figure and was a little disappointed. At this moment, the phone rang. Jiang Dudu quickly picked it up. I passed the assessment. I'll be home for lunch around noon. Jiang Xi's voice came from the other end. Not bad. You didn't embarrass Jiang Dudu. Brother, I'll wait for you. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Dudu finally heaved a sigh of relief. She put her hands behind her back and turned to go home. Her steps were light. After receiving the brand new martial artist certificate, his identity had changed from today onwards. In the new era, the various countries and alliances treated martial artists very well. There was a certain amount of preferential policies and resources. For example, if the legal representative of a company was a martial artist, he or she would be able to get a certain amount of tax relief. Of course, this kind of thing was only done by martial artists who were idling around. Real martial artists would choose to enter the wilderness to train and hunt monsters to improve their strength. I'll go to the wilderness after I've prepared well. Without full preparation, Jiang Xi would not enter the wilderness rashly. When he returned home, Jiang Dudu had already prepared dinner for Jiang Xi to feel the warmth of home. "Brother, let me see your martial artist certificate." Jiang Dudu extended her hand. Jiang Xi smiled and handed it over. "Handsome, nice. I want one too." Jiang Dudu looked at it over and over. She was very envious. "I was just about to talk to you about this. I'll talk to Uncle Jiang tomorrow. By then, you'll have to undergo martial arts training. You're 13 years old this year. Try to pass your martial arts talent by the time you're 18, Jiang Xi said with a smile. "Pass? Brother, you're underestimating me. I, Jiang Dudu, want to be a girl with a martial arts talent of 200 points. Huh, wait and see." Jiang Dudu grumpily ate in big mouthfuls. Late at night, Jiang Xi was alone in his bedroom. He turned on his computer and prepared to log into Genten Budokan's internal website. Genten Budokan's internal website could only be accessed by Genten Budokan martial artists. Now that he had the identity of a martial artist, he could naturally log in. "Enter Genten Budokan's internal website," Jiang Xi said softly. An illusory three-dimensional light screen that looked like a projection appeared in front of Jiang Xi. This is the technology of the new era. In 100 years, after the great changes of the world and the invasion of monsters, although the development of technology has been severely affected, there are still some improvements. In the past, when he lived in Apricot Garden, he did not have access to these things. After living in Tongtian district, this single-family villa was filled with the most advanced equipment. "Please verify your identity," the intelligent voice prompted. Jiang Xi took a step forward. The light screen enveloped him and scanned his identity information. Verification successful. Martial artist Jiang Xi, welcome to Genten Budokan's internal website. The three-dimensional light screen immediately changed. 3 virtual cubes appeared in front of him. The Xian Tian Forum, the Xian Tian Shopping Mall, and the Personal Hub. These were the 3 sections of Genten Budokan's internal website. Jiang Xing invites you to join the Xian Tian Forum's Iron-Blooded Handsome Men chat group. At this moment, a bubble box appeared at the bottom left of Jiang Xi's vision. "What iron-blooded handsome men? Uncle Jiang, so you are this kind of person." Jiang Xi endured the discomfort and clicked into the Xian Tian Forum. After entering, a dialog box popped up. "Jiang Sheng, welcome to our new friend, Jiang Xi. Lu Shan, I hope that everyone can take care of our little friend. Zhou Yang, welcome. Scattering flowers. Wang Dalong, warmly welcome. Li Ergu, warmly welcome." Below was a series of greetings. Jiang Xi replied, "Thank you, everyone." Then, the chat group became lively again. "Looking to buy 100-year-old Ganoderma Hanji grass. Price will be favorable. Private message if interested. Selling Class D Blue Fire Wolf Fur. Private message if interested. Hunting Class C Steel Rock Rhino. Looking to form a team. Coordinates, City 056. Jiang Xi glanced at them and realized that they were all big shots. He could not chat with them. Pure newbies should go play by themselves. The remaining 2 were the Xian Tian Shopping Mall and the Personal Hub. He was now concerned about the Personal Hub and whether the money from Genten Budokan had arrived. Chapter 30. Jiang Xi opened the Personal Center expectantly. Suddenly, an information sheet appeared in the hologram. Name, Jiang Ci. Gender, male. Age, 18. Level, F, Skin Refining Stage. Affiliation, Genten Budokan Branch Library, Pak Sun Province, Dusya Kingdom. Privilege, you can choose any one of the secret manuals of any level. Account balance, 500,000,000 new moon dollars. Genten Budokan is really efficient. 50 million, I got it on the same day. Jiang Ci could not help but praise. The scariest thing was to default on the payment. What would he do with the money? Of course, he would spend it. Jiang Ci quickly opened the Xiantian store. The Xiantian city was also a place only internal members could use. The categories were very detailed: secret manuals, weapons, defensive equipment, spiritual herbs, medicine, special, etc. Clicking on the secret manuals, it was further divided into several categories: Qi gathering technique, attack technique, movement technique, special. I can choose any secret manual of any kind. What are they? Jiang Ci tried to open the attack technique, and his breathing suddenly became rapid. Xiantian Battle Technique, Collection, Advanced Sword Technique, created by the world's strongest person, Xiantian. Comes with an advanced Qi gathering technique, 100 billion new moon dollars. Jiuyuan Sword Technique, Collection, Advanced Sword Technique, created by the world's second strongest person, Li Bai. Comes with an advanced Qi gathering technique, 100 billion new moon dollars. Shadowless, Collection, Advanced Staff Technique, created by the world's fifth strongest person, Lei Ming. Comes with an advanced Qi gathering technique, 70 billion new moon dollars. Celestial Pole, oh my god, even the world's top 5 strongest persons' martial arts are available. Genten Budokan is really powerful. Jiang Ci immediately decided on the Jiuyuan sword technique. When he entered the cart, a notification popped up. The Jiuyuan sword technique is extremely difficult to cultivate. Other than Li Bai, very few people can cultivate it to the highest level. Please choose carefully. Jiang Ci did not hesitate or waver. If he wanted to practice, he would practice the best. He used a sword, so the sword technique that was most suitable for him was naturally the sword technique of the world's second strongest. So what if the training difficulty is high? I'll just use the experience panel to level up. Let's take a look at the movement technique. Now, his basic sword technique and basic movement technique had all been merged into one, and they needed to be improved. Jiang Ci had also looked at movement techniques from his collection, but the price was equally shocking. Graceful Grace, Collection, Advanced Movement Skill. When the movement skill is mastered, the user will be as graceful as a swan. Price, 80 billion new moon coins. Silent, Collectible, Advanced Movement Skill. It means that when one moves, one will be silent. Price, 60 billion new moon coins. Lost Tracks, Jiang Ci smiled bitterly and shook his head. I can't afford it, I can't afford it. Without the free access, his 50 million yuan would not be enough. Now, he finally understood why Lu Shan had said that 50 million was nothing at all. Just as he was about to scroll down to the intermediate and elementary body movement techniques, Jiang Ci's hand paused. A new movement technique suddenly appeared in the light and shadow in front of him. He was sure that when he was browsing earlier, he did not see this movement technique. Jiang Ci did not think too much about it. He clicked on it with the mentality of taking a look. Wind Shadow Step, Collection, Advanced Movement Technique. It is known for its speed. It is suitable for tracking and escaping. Price, 30 million new moon coins. Reminder, a powerhouse obtained it from the ancient mystery land. It is known as the most difficult martial technique to master. Only 3 people have mastered it. After reading the introduction, Jiang Ci was stunned. The price is so low. Only 30 million. But in the end, Riverward suddenly realized that it was a useless movement technique. It was similar to the Jiuyuan sword technique. Although it was an advanced movement technique, it was difficult to master. In this case, it was not even comparable to an intermediate movement technique. That was why the price was so low. But this is tailor-made for me. Jiang Xi was very excited and confident. Since someone could master it, so could he. As long as he could master it, he could use the experience panel to increase it. 1 difficulty was still difficult. 2 difficulties were still difficult. Since he had already chosen the extremely difficult Zhou Yuan's sword technique, he was not afraid of adding Wind Shadow Step. Jiang Xi did not like to be picky. If he could buy it, he would buy it. The Zhou Yuan's sword technique also came with an advanced qi drawing technique. He did not need to consider buying another qi drawing technique. This way, he had a complete set of qi drawing technique, offensive movement technique, and movement technique. After buying the Wind Shadow Step, I still have 20 million new moon coins left. Now, I still lack a set of combat equipment. The combat assessment made him realize the importance of combat equipment. High-grade equipment could allow a martial artist to unleash their strength better. It could even increase their strength. I need a martial artist combat uniform, killer shadow sword, backpack, and tactical communications watch. The martial artist combat uniform was a defensive equipment. It included a top, bottom, boots, and multi-purpose belt. It was made of special materials and could defend against a certain amount of monster attacks. The killer shadow sword was a weapon. The backpack and tactical communications watch were auxiliary equipment. The standard F-grade martial artist combat uniform has been selected for you. The AI's voice prompted. Before Jiang Xi could go to the store to buy the equipment, a row of equipment appeared in front of his eyes. F-grade martial artist combat uniform, price 1 million new moon coins. F-grade killer shadow sword, price 3 million new moon coins. Iron armored rhinoceros leather backpack, price 350,000 new moon coins. Tactical communications watch, price 200,000 new moon coins. This store is smart, but the equipment's grade is too low. With the speed of my strength increasing, it won't be long before I become an E-grade or even D-grade martial artist. At that time, I will need to change my equipment. So, I need to buy something of a higher grade. Let's take a look at the D-grade martial artist combat uniform and the D-grade killer shadow sword. The items in front of him changed. D-grade martial artist combat uniform, price 30 million new moon coins. D-grade killer shadow sword, price 50 million new moon coins. Jiang Xi remembered that he was still a pauper among the martial artists. He only had 20 million new moon coins in his account. He opened the E-grade equipment's information. E-grade martial artist combat uniform, price 5 million new moon coins. E-grade killer shadow sword, price 10 million new moon coins. Phew. I'll just put up with it. Jiang Xi shook his head. Order. 9 Elemental Swordsmanship, Wind Shadow Steps, E-grade Martial Artist Combat Uniform, E-grade Killer Shadow Sword, Tactical Communications Watch, Iron Armored Rhinoceros Leather Backpack. The items you ordered will be delivered to your current address within 24 hours. Please check. The AI voice reminded him. Usually, after a person bought something, they would just wait for the delivery. As for how much they spent, they would not even think about it. However, Jiang Xi sat there in a daze. Account balance, 445,000 new moon coins, I just spent 55 million. If Jiang Daodu knew about this, would she chop me up? With Jiang Daodu's personality, she would usually hesitate for half a day if she wanted to spend a single dollar. In order to not upset Jiang Daodu, Jiang Xi decided not to say anything for the time being. However, spending money like this was really satisfying. After that, Jiang Xi gained another 30 experience points before he fell asleep. To him, the actual combat assessment this time was not a small consumption. Of course, the rewards were not small either. Level, Skin Refining, F, 421210, Cultivation Technique, Basic Heart Technique, Martial Technique, Basic Fist Technique, Combine 50-50, Basic Sword Technique, Combine 100100, Basic Body Technique, Combine 100100, Force Exertion, 100% experience points, 284, after killing 26 F-grade monsters. He gained a total of 260 experience points. This made Jiang Ci look forward to his future training in the wilderness. Killing monsters to gain experience points was obviously faster. Chapter 31. The next day, in order to wait for the delivery, Jiang Ci did not go anywhere. At 10:00 in the morning, someone rang the doorbell of the villa. When Jiang Ci heard it, he quickly rushed to the door. "Hello, Mr. Jiang Ci, this is your delivery." The delivery boy was very polite as he handed a silver-white alloy box to Jiang Ci. The people who lived in Tongtian district were all martial artists, so the delivery boy did not dare to be negligent. Moreover, he knew that this box contained very valuable goods. "Okay, thank you." Jiang Ci took the box and rushed to the training room in the basement. Also, the delivery boy's smile froze as he held the list of goods in his hand. "You haven't signed it yet, brother." At this time, Jiang Daodu walked over from the garden. "Excuse me, what can I do for you?" Jiang Daodu asked. Mr. Jiang Ci received the delivery just now, but he didn't sign it. The delivery boy smiled bitterly. "Let me sign it for him. I'm his sister." "I'm very sorry, but you have to sign it in person. There could not be any problems during the signing process for high-value goods." "I'll go call him." Jiang Daodu was about to turn around when she suddenly saw the list of goods in the delivery boy's hand. An eye-catching 55 million. Jiang Daodu's eyes widened. She only felt that it was difficult to breathe, and the world was spinning. "Jiang Ci!" Jiang Daodu shouted. He only had a few good days, and he was already spending money recklessly. 55 million. How many pork knuckles could he buy with that? However, when she saw the details of the goods, she fell silent. A moment later, in the living room, Jiang Ci was a little embarrassed as he sat across from Jiang Daodu. "Jiang Ci, you're too much. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spent money recklessly." "No. You must have bought martial artist combat equipment to go to the wilderness, so you didn't spend money recklessly. However, you shouldn't have hidden your plans to go to the wilderness from me. I'm your sister, and we're family. I don't want any secrets between us. This won't happen again. Your punishment is to cook lunch." "Understood." Jiang Ci resisted the urge to open the package and cooked lunch. However, in the end, he did not eat, nor did he open the package. Jiang Sheng gave him a call and called him to the dojo. When he arrived at the dojo, he didn't expect Lu Shan to be there as well. There was also another young man who looked less than 30 years old. "Little Jiang, let me introduce you. A very strong martial artist. You can just call him Brother Yang," Jiang Sheng introduced with a smile. "Uncle Jiang, don't mock me. The vice dojo master is here. Who dares to claim to be strong? Hello, brothers, as to you, SSSSS, SSSSS, SSSSS. To SSSSS to meet use meet, SSSSS, SSS, this not, SSSSS, use. Before becoming a martial artist, you were able to kill a trashy martial artist like Shen Quan and rid the world of evil. Alright, let's cut the pleasantries and get down to business." Lu Shan spoke. Jiang Ci looked over, not knowing what was going on. "Little Jiang, you've already obtained yours, martial artists, and your strength is rank F. Gen 10 Budokan doesn't keep idle martial artists. According to the martial arts center's rules, you'll have to go to the wilderness to train. Therefore, I've arranged a martial artists team for you. This way, when you enter the wilderness, it'll be safer and easier for you to familiarize yourself with the environment. Zhou Yang is the Dragon's vice captain. He'll bring you to the Martial Artists Association for registration later." Lu Shan said. "Vice captain, don't worry. I'll take good care of our little brother." Zhou Yang patted his chest and said. Then, He said to Jiang Xie, let's get this straight. The wilderness isn't a place for relationships. Strength is everything. We'll bring you for a period of time. If you can't get used to the wilderness quickly, the captain and I will definitely kick you out. Don't blame us then. Jiang Xie nodded lightly. This was a matter of course. In a dangerous environment, even he would not want to bring a burden. We'll go to the Martial Artists Association now. The captain and the others are already waiting there. We can have a meal there and get to know each other. Zhou Yang smiled. The Xia Kingdom was different from other countries and alliances in the world. They had strict control over martial artists' identities and information. To establish or join a martial artists team, one had to register at the Martial Artists Association. He arrived at the Martial Artists Association with Zhou Yang. Jiang Xie, you haven't entered the building of the Martial Artists Association, right? Zhou Yang asked with a smile. No, I've stood in the square for 20 to 30 hours during the Martial Science College entrance examination and the martial artist examination, Jiang Xie said honestly. He had observed Zhou Yang on the way here. Zhou Yang should be about the same as Jiang Sheng. They were both E-class martial artists. Haha, now that you mention it, it reminds me of when I was in high school. However, the Martial Artist Association only allows martial artists to enter. Even if I wanted to enter before, I couldn't. Zhou Yang laughed. Jiang Xie did not know that. As expected, there was a device to check one's identity at the entrance of the association's first-floor hall. It was similar to a security check, but the device was more advanced. It was a three-dimensional hologram. Zhou Yang walked in front and passed through the security check. E-class martial artist Zhou Yang, welcome to Kitasanfa Martial Artists Association. An elegant voice came from the hologram. Jiang Xie followed behind and walked over. F-class martial artist Jiang Xie, welcome to Kitasanfa Martial Artists Association. Riverward chuckled. After the combat assessment had ended yesterday, the Northern Mountain Army had recorded the identity information of all the new martial artists. The association has 99 floors. The lower 33 floors belong to the Martial Arts Affairs Bureau, the middle 33 floors belong to the Martial Artists Supervision Bureau, and the top 33 floors belong to the Martial Artists Enforcement Bureau. We'll go to the Martial Artist Team Management Center on the 25th floor to register your identity. Then, we'll go to the Enforcement Bureau's cafeteria on the 88th floor. The captain and the others are waiting there, Zhou Yang said. Jiang Xie nodded. He wanted to meet the legendary captain too. The name of the martial artist team was Mad Dragon Team. With such a domineering name, the captain must be very domineering too. They took the elevator to the 25th floor. There was no office. It was a huge office hall. Many martial artists in martial artist combat uniforms came and went. So many martial artists. Jiang Xi's eyes narrowed slightly. He could not see through many of them. They were very strong. Little Yang, long time no see. Old Zhou, is your Mad Dragon team interested in working with us to kill a C-class monster? Many martial artists greeted Zhou Yang, but they ignored Jiang Xi. Jiang Xi was obviously a new martial artist. He looked around the moment he came in. There was no need to pay attention to him. If you want to work with us, look for our captain. Don't look for me. Zhou Yang waved his hand and brought Jiang Xi to the Martial Artist Team Registration Center. Jiang Xi took out his martial artist identification card and registered himself. He was officially a member of the Mad Dragon Team. D-class martial artist team. The captain is a D-class martial artist? Jiang Xi was surprised. The ranking of a martial artist team was based on the strength of the captain. When the two of them were about to leave, 3 people came over and stopped them. One of them looked unfriendly. Chapter 32. Bloodthirst Squad, what do you want? Zhou Yang was unhappy. What do we want? Humph. One of the brawny men in his 30s sneered. He turned to Jiang Xi and said coldly, are you Jiang Xi? Jiang Xi frowned. The brawny man had a scar on his forehead. He sneered and looked ferocious. But he had never seen this person before. He took another look and realized that this person looked familiar. I'm Jiang Xi. There was nothing to hide. No matter what, the other party had come looking for him. They must know his identity. Remember, I'm Shenguang. I'll kill you. The brawny man grinned, revealing his yellow teeth. Shenguang. Shenquan. Jiang Xi realized that Shenguang and Shenquan looked similar. Some time ago, when he was signing a new contract with the Shentian martial house, Jiang Sheng had reminded him. Shenquan had a younger brother who was also a martial artist. He spent most of his time in the wilderness. His strength was unknown. But so many days had passed that he had almost forgotten about it. He thought that the chances of meeting him were low. He did not expect to meet him here. Oh? Then I'll wait. Also, your brother deserves to die. As a martial artist, he ignored the lives of ordinary people and lost the bottom line of a martial artist. Even if he's still alive, I'll kill him again. Jiang Xi was not afraid at all. He was talking tough. Who didn't know how to do that? If he really met him in the wilderness, he could just run. Anyway, he could not be afraid now. You've got guts. Let's see if your bones are as tough as your mouth. Shenguang sneered. Shenguang, are you looking for trouble? Jiang Xi is a member of the Berserk Dragon Squad. If you want to kill him, you'll have to ask us first. Zhou Yang could not stand it anymore. At this moment, a tall and skinny middle-aged man walked over from afar. He laughed disdainfully. Berserk Dragon Squad? In the eyes of the Bloodthirst Squad, you're just a caterpillar squad. Zhou Yang's face turned ugly as he clenched his fists. The person who spoke was the captain of the Bloodthirst Squad, He Shua. He was a D-class martial artist and was one of the top few in Pak Sun province. He was far from being a match. The confrontation between the two sides quickly attracted the attention of all the martial artists in the hall. They all gathered around to watch the show. The Mad Dragon Squad and the Blood Kill Squad were both D-level martial artist squads. They were very famous in the martial arts world of Pak Sun province. Mad Dragon King De Long and Blood Killer He Shua were both famous D-class martial artists. All the martial artists present wanted to see how Zhou Yang of the Berserk Dragon Squad would deal with it. Jiang Xi was also worried. What should he do? Go up and fight head-on? That was impossible. He could still go against Shenguang just now because he could tell that Shenguang was an E-class martial artist. As for the middle-aged man who had just arrived, he couldn't see through him. It was obvious that they weren't on the same level. He Shua's appearance put the situation in a deadlock. He Shua, why have you become so arrogant? Do you want to go out and spar? At this moment, a light voice sounded. A bald man walked out of the elevator, followed by two young men. Captain. Zhou Yang's eyes lit up. Wang Dalong. Humph. You dare to bring a newbie martial artist? Aren't you afraid of being dragged to death? If you want to spar with me, I'll see you in the wilderness. He Shua's face turned gloomy. He then said to Shenguang and the rest, let's go. The 4 members of the Blood Kill Squad turned and left. On the 88th floor of the Kitasanfa Martial Artists Association, it was an elegant and quiet restaurant. It was easy for people to relax. This was the first time Jiang Xi had a meal together after joining the Mad Dragon Squad. After the incident just now, everyone had gotten to know each other. Jiang Xi, let me introduce you. These two are also members of our squad, Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng. They are both experienced martial artists. Zhou Yang pointed at the 2 young men opposite Jiang Xi. Lu Hao was short and stout. He looked honest and had a long bronze hammer hanging on his waist. He was a strength-type martial artist. Tian Chenfeng was the opposite. He was a handsome young man with a kind smile. He was very quiet and kept wiping his long sword. Nice to meet you, Brother Hao and Brother Feng. Jiang Xi smiled and nodded. Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng nodded as a form of greeting. Zhou Yang finally introduced the captain to Jiang Xi. He was a bald man with a valiant aura. Jiang Xi, this is our captain, Wang Dalong. He's a D-class martial artist and his nickname is Mad Dragon. You saw it just now. When the captain appeared, he could only leave with his tail between his legs. Wang Dalong was serious. His bald head was very intimidating. He said to Jiang Xi, your talent is very good. Zhou Yang should have told you that we will bring you along for a period of time so that you can quickly adapt to the wilderness. However, if your growth is slow, we will kick you out when the time comes. I understand. Riverward's expression was calm. Strength was respect. If he wanted to gain the recognition of others, he had to show his strength. However, since you are a member of our team, you can't be bullied by others. We will help you block the provocation of the Blood Massacre team. You have to be careful. Wang Dalong said in a deep voice. Jiang Xi nodded gently. Thank you, Captain. That group of idiots from the Blood Massacre team. Jiang Xi is someone that President He has specifically asked to remember. They dare to provoke him and say that they want to kill Jiang Xi. Tian Chenfeng sneered. That's true. They are sure that President He won't make a move. After all, the higher-ups won't care about the fights between low-level martial artists. Lu Hao shook his head. Hearing their words, Jiang Xi was a little worried. He couldn't help but ask, I'm not afraid of Xinguang's threat. I'm just worried that he won't do anything to my family. The few members of the Mad Dragon team laughed. Zhou Yang said, Jiang Xi, you don't have to worry about this at all. There are rules in the martial arts world. One of the strictest rules is that when martial artists fight, they can't implicate each other's family. Those who violate this rule will be killed. That being said, Jiang Xi's face was still full of worry. What if the other party used ordinary people to deal with Jiang Daodu? It seemed that it was better to be cautious and let Jiang Daodu strengthen her martial arts training so that she could protect herself. Of course, the most important thing was to solve the threat. Just like how he got rid of Xinquan, he got rid of Xinguang. Alright, don't worry. If he dares to do anything to your family, I will skin him alive. Wang Dalong said in a deep voice. Jiang Xi nodded gently and put this matter aside for the time being. Our team has just returned from the wilderness. We will rest for a month and enter the wilderness at the end of the month. Jiang Xi, that means that you still have a month to prepare. Prepare well. Wang Dalong said again. Okay. At the end of the month, Jiang Xi couldn't help but look forward to it. Was he finally going to enter the wilderness? Jiang Xi, I remember that you signed the genius contract of the martial arts school. You have the startup funds. You should have bought all the combat equipment, right? Zhou Yang asked at this time. Yes, I have. That's good. Our Xiantian shopping center's prices are much lower than the market. In the future, when you sell things, you can sell them to the Xiantian shopping center. After all, when you enter the wilderness, you will be able to make money. Zhou Yang laughed. Jiang Xi was excited when he heard this. Make money. For example, the materials on the monster's body, such as fur, scales, bones, claws, teeth, flesh, and blood, were all very valuable. They could be used to make medicine, forge weapons, armor, and so on. A truly powerful martial artist could obtain a considerable amount of income by hunting monsters. It could be seen from the last time he bought things at the Xiantian shopping center. Even if he became a martial artist, he could not do without money. Moreover, money was even more expensive. Secret manuals cost money, equipment cost money. In conclusion, if he wanted to improve his strength, he could not do without money. Chapter 33. After returning from the Warrior Association, Jiang Xi could not wait to go to the underground training room. After practicing the basic mental cultivation method 3 times and calming himself down, he looked at the silver-white box. Shen Guang, who had joined the Berserk Dragon squad and suddenly appeared. This made Jiang Xi realize the importance of strength. In this era, strength spoke for everything. Whether it was to protect the important people around him or to prove himself, he had to rely on strength. And the things in the box could make him stronger. This box required identity verification. It could only be opened by the person himself. After Jiang Xi verified his identity, the box made a clicking sound and opened automatically from the middle. It was divided into 2 layers. The upper layer had an E-grade Slayer shadow sword with a scabbard. Beside it were 2 fixed USB drives and a tactical communications watch. The lower layer had a full set of warrior combat uniform and backpack. Jiang Xi put on the black warrior combat uniform and practiced a set of fist techniques in the training room. He found that the combat uniform fit him well. His movements were not affected at all. It was unlike the previous combat assessment where he wore a standard combat uniform that was a little loose. A custom-made uniform is really different. When he placed the order yesterday, Shen Tian's store had scanned his body's information. The combat uniform was customized according to his body's information. E-grade Slayer Shadow Sword. Jiang Xi pulled the sword out of its scabbard. The blade was cold. He swung it lightly and the sound of the sword rang out. He put on the tactical communications watch and tested the signal. There was no problem. The tactical communications watch was an important support equipment for warriors. In the wilderness, they relied on it to communicate. The backpack was made of armored rhinoceros skin. It was very tough and had a large capacity. When training in the wilderness and hunting monsters, it could be used to store a large amount of monster materials. It was also a necessary equipment. Of course, the most valuable are these 2 little things. Jiang Xi put the equipment back and took out the 2 USB drives. Zhouyuan Swordsmanship and Wind Shadow Steps. Let's take a look at Zhouyuan Swordsmanship first. Jiang Xi was full of expectations. He turned on the computer in the training room, inserted the USB drive, and read a virtual figure appeared in the training room. Jiang Xi took a few steps back. Although it was just a virtual image, the feeling it gave him was too strong. It couldn't be helped. The second strongest man in the world, Li Baibai. Although he had never seen her before, Jiang Xi's intuition told him that this young woman in her 20s was Li Baibai. His simple white training clothes and cold expression made it seem as if he wanted to keep people 1,000 miles away. Her powerful aura made people automatically overlook her beautiful appearance. Li Baibai's figure was expressionless, as if he was looking straight at riverward. His faint voice sounded. The 9-element sword art was created by observing the white tiger of the Wind Fiend. It belongs to the category of fast sword art. In the world of martial arts, only speed is invincible. When one was fast to the extreme, one would be invincible. This is the profound meaning of the 9-elemental sword technique. If you want to learn my swordsmanship, you must first agree with my philosophy. Otherwise, even if you are an A-class expert, you will not be able to learn my swordsmanship. Secondly, you need to learn a high-grade movement technique. Otherwise, you will not be able to unleash the true power of the 9-element sword technique. Li Baibai's words made Riverward alarmed in his heart. He also needed to learn a high-grade movement technique. Luckily, he bought the Wind Shadow Steps. Otherwise, the free privilege of choosing secret manuals would have been wasted. Jiang Xi absolutely agreed with the concept of fast sword art. Previously, when he learned the basic movement technique, he wanted to make up for his lack of speed and agility during battle. Li Baibai's figure continued. The levels of mastery of a martial art are divided into 3 stages: small success, hyperfocus, and unity. In my opinion, these 3 stages are still about exerting force. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. When Li Baibai said this, he understood. Indeed, the level of a martial arts stage was ultimately reflected in exerting force. The limit of an ordinary person's exertion is 1 layer, which is 100% exertion. However, my 9 elements sword art can increase the limit of exertion. Small success can increase the exertion by 2 layers. Small success can increase the exertion by 5 layers. Unity success can increase the exertion by 9 layers. At most, it could increase the exertion by 9 layers. In addition to his own exertion of 1 layer, it would be equivalent to having 10 layers. No wonder Li Bai is so strong. The power of her sword is 10 times that of an expert of the same level. Jiang Xi's eyes became brighter and he looked forward to it. If he mastered this sword art, he would not have to worry about not being able to become an expert. Next is the key to mastering the sword art. First, you need to control your body's speed. The figure explained in detail and at the same time, demonstrated the moves of the sword art. The 9 elements sword art had a total of 81 moves, which coincided with the number 9. Jiang Xi looked at it seriously. In the training room, Jiang Xi pulled out the killer shadow sword and tried to practice the 9 elements sword art. His body swayed and he slashed with his sword. Whoosh! 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 One move after another, the speed became faster and faster. He had slashed and stabbed more than 100 times. However, he clearly felt that he was still far from mastering the sword art. Fast sword art requires speed and the ability to control speed and strength. I still need to increase my speed. Now, he had 2 ways to increase his speed. Increase his strength level or increase his movement speed. The wind shadow steps could increase his movement speed. Jiang Xi inserted another USB drive and read it. Beside him, a blurry figure appeared. Although he could not see the face clearly, he could confirm that it was a man. The origin of the wind shadow steps is mysterious. Although there have been people who have learned it, no one has managed to reach the unity realm. Movement techniques are the embodiment of speed, movement, dodging, agility, footwork and other comprehensive abilities. The wind shadow steps is known for its speed. Complete lesser mastery, speed can be increased by 2 times. Complete refinement, speed can be increased by 5 times. Complete unity, speed can be increased by 9 times. After reading the introduction, Jiang Xi sat there and digested it for a while. The increase in speed of the wind shadow steps and the increase in strength of the 9 elements sword art were surprisingly the same. However, in Jiang Xi's opinion, the value of the wind shadow steps was higher. Speed was recognized as the hardest to improve. Regardless of strength or attack, every level up would increase by a large margin. However, speed was the only thing that increased slowly. This was because there were many factors that affected speed. Strength, weight, resistance, movement, etc. There were many. The wind shadow steps footwork is complicated and the requirements are very precise. When you practice it, you must pay attention to controlling the strength of each step. The blurry figure demonstrated the footwork of the wind shadow steps again. Sure enough, it was very complicated. Furthermore, he didn't need to use his greatest strength to increase his speed at every step. It emphasized the control of strength and speed. If there was a mistake in any step, it would affect the increase in speed. It was extremely precise. This also caused many people to find it difficult to reach a high level even if they had mastered it. In conclusion, it was very difficult to practice. If it's not difficult to practice, can it be called a high-level martial skill? Jiang Xi suddenly chuckled. What he needed to do now was to master the 9 elements sword art and the wind shadow steps. As long as it could be recorded in the experience panel, there would be no problems. Taking advantage of the fact that his energy was good, Jiang Xi practiced the wind shadow steps for the entire night. As for the 9 elements sword art, when his speed increased, it would be easier to practice. Chapter 34. Early in the morning, Pak Sun Province was bathed in the golden sunlight as the sun rose. Jiang Xi climbed up to the balcony on the third floor of the villa and began his daily practice under the sunlight. 9 Elements Heart Technique is an advanced qi gathering technique that comes with 9 Elements Sword Technique. I wonder how effective it is. Jiang Xi closed his eyes and quickly entered the state of qi gathering. Wisps of rich heaven and earth spiritual qi converged and the cool spiritual qi energy quickly accumulated in his body. What a high qi gathering efficiency! The amount of spiritual qi absorbed per unit of time is much stronger than the basic heart technique. Half an hour later, a cycle of practice was completed. You have cultivated the 9 Elements Heart Cultivation Technique once, EXP plus 9, 3 times the practice speed. Jiang Xi was overjoyed when he saw the experience points gained on the interface. The higher the efficiency of the qi gathering technique, the faster the experience points gained. Every 3 days, he would gain 27 EXP. It was equivalent to the total amount of experience points gained in a day of practice. There's still half a month before I enter the wilderness. Let's see how much my strength can improve during this time. Riverward thought that in this month, he would be able to learn the basics of the 9 Elements Sword Art and Wind Shadow Step. Although it was difficult to master advanced martial arts techniques, that was for others. After knowing that Jiang Xi was preparing to enter the wilderness, Jiang Dudu suddenly became serious. She stopped lazing around in bed and ignored the flowers and plants in the villa. She went straight to the 3rd floor of the 3rd building in Genten Budokan to find Jiang Sheng to guide her in martial arts training. Jiang Xi did not stop her. He had already informed Jiang Sheng yesterday. It was a good thing that Jiang Dudu took the initiative to ask for martial arts training. If someone was willing to take the initiative to do something, the effect would definitely be better than being passive. As for Shenguang's threat, Jiang Xi had always kept it in mind. However, Jiang Dudu was still on her summer vacation. She usually stayed in the martial arts center and did not go out. There was no need to worry about her safety. Even if Shenguang was given 100 guts, he would not dare to cause trouble in Genten Budokan. Therefore, Jiang Xi did not tell Jiang Dudu about this. He would remind her when school started. He just told Jiang Sheng and asked Jiang Sheng to keep an eye on them. In the underground training room, Jiang Xi was afraid of trouble, so he didn't go to the dojo to train. After all, there were many warriors training in the dojo. If someone were to see him cultivating the Wind Shadow Steps and 9 Elemental Sword Technique, it would surely cause another round of discussion. It wasn't that he was deliberately keeping a low profile. He just didn't want to do something that would make him lose face in the future. It would be too degrading. He used his computer to open the USB drive for Wind Shadow Steps. A blurry figure began to demonstrate the Wind Shadow Steps. Jiang Xi watched carefully from the side. After a few times, he slowed down the speed of the demonstration. This way, he would be able to see every step clearly. Just like how I practiced the basic movement technique previously, as long as I am able to grasp all of the movements without missing a single step, I will be able to reach the initiate stage. According to the introduction, some people had reached the initiate stage of Wind Shadow Steps, but they weren't able to reach a high level. Jiang Xi wasn't worried about this, so he only focused on reaching the initiate stage. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, Jiang Xi practiced step by step seriously. If he made a mistake, he would try again. Right, the next one. No sleep, no rest. Wholeheartedly devoted. 3 days later, Jiang Xi walked with a unique footwork. His body swayed and moved quickly in the underground training room. He moved faster and faster, as if he was watching a movie in fast forward. You have comprehended Wind Shadow Steps, experience points plus 100. Jiang Xi suddenly stopped. His face was filled with surprise. Success! He used 3 days to reach the initiate stage. Compared to the initiate stage of the basic movement technique, it was 20 to 30 times slower. As expected of the most difficult high-level martial art to learn. Moreover, the experience points gained from comprehending it was unexpectedly high. A full 100 points. I have mastered the movement technique. Next, the sword technique. Jiang Ci didn't relax for a moment. He took out the slaughtering shadow sword and began practicing 9 elements sword technique. 9 elements sword technique was a fast sword technique. It required speed. When using it, it had to be paired with a high-level movement technique. Now that he had reached the initiate stage of wind shadow steps, his speed had increased. Practicing 9 elements sword technique would be much easier. There was a total of 81 sword techniques. Jiang Ci first practiced it completely. Then, he divided the techniques, grasped them one by one, and finally integrated them. His train of thought was clear and focused. His improvement was rapid. 1,000 times, 2,000 times, 5,000 times, 10,000 times, another 4 days later. The slaughtering shadow sword flew in Jiang Ci's hand. It flashed past one sword shadow after another. Its speed was extremely fast. It had already surpassed the speed of his movement technique. Moreover, Jiang Ci could feel that the power of each sword was much stronger than when he used the basic movement technique. Fast. 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 There was only one word left in Jiang Ci's heart. Fast sword, the pursuit of extreme speed. The fastest speed would bring the strongest attack power. You have comprehended 9 elements sword technique, experience points plus 100, ding. A sword cry came from the slaughtering shadow sword. Ha ha ha. Jiang Ci laughed heartily. In just 1 week, he had reached the initiate stage of the 2 most difficult martial techniques in Genten Budokan's store. If this matter were to spread to the outside world, it would definitely cause a huge uproar. This was also the reason why Jiang Ci was unwilling to train in the dojo. Following that, Jiang Ci tried again. He accumulated the experience points gained from practicing 9 elements sword technique and wind shadow steps. You have practiced 9 elements sword technique 100 times, experience points plus 9, you have practiced wind shadow steps 100 times, experience points plus 9, the accumulated experience points for practicing martial techniques have also increased. Not bad. If I persevere, it will continue to improve. Jiang Ci nodded lightly. He was very satisfied with the new martial technique. Level, Skin Tempering Level F, 6312100, Cultivation Technique, 9 elements Heart Technique. Martial Technique 9 elements Sword Technique, Small Success 13,000, Wind Shadow Steps, Small Success 15,000, Force Exertion, 100% Experience Points, 492, as expected, the value of Wind Shadow Steps is still higher. The experience needed to level up to the Small Success stage is 2,000 more than 9 elements Sword Technique. Although it was difficult, since he had already reached the entry level, Jiang Ci did not have to worry about the problem of leveling up later. With the experience points panel, what he needed now was time and experience points. As long as he had enough time and experience points, he would become stronger and stronger. New Moon, July 31st. A month passed by quickly. During this period, other than the day when Zhang Wei left for Sunchen Budo Academy, Jiang Ci did not go out again. He was immersed in training. Today was the day when Jiang Ci prepared to go to the wilderness. At the entrance of Tongtian district, Jiang Ci was wearing a brand new martial artist combat uniform. His backpack was stuffed to the brim. Between the backpack and his body, there was a killing shadow sword. He looked full of energy and majestic. After 3 months of growth, his body's various indicators had already undergone earth-shattering changes. In the past, he was extremely thin and weak. Now, he was very strong. His muscles were powerful, and his figure was tall and straight. He was also over 1.8 meters tall. Little Jiang, listen to Wang Dalong when you're out in the wastelands. He's a wastelander and knows a lot. If there's anything you don't understand, just ask him, Jiang Xing said. I will remember, Uncle Jiang. Jiang Ci nodded lightly. Jiang Daodu charmingly stood to the side and didn't say anything. In the past month, she had undergone martial arts training with Jiang Sheng. She had also changed a lot. She was more energetic than before. "Brother, if you die outside, I will not let you go even if I become a ghost. So, you must come back alive," Jiang Daodu said calmly. Jiang Xi's mood of departure, which had been brewing for a long time, was completely destroyed by this sentence. What kind of logic is this? If I die, shouldn't I become a ghost? Don't worry. Don't you know me? Jiang Xi smiled. You are the most afraid of ghosts. Jiang Daodu pointed it out mercilessly. Huh. Jiang Xing laughed when he heard this. Jiang Xi stopped smiling and said seriously, Daodu, when I am not at home, you must eat well and train well with Uncle Jiang. Don't laze in bed. Got it. Hurry up and go. Jiang Daodu waved her hand impatiently. Then, she turned around and left Jiang Xi with her back facing him. Jiang Xi smiled and waved to Jiang Daodu and Jiang Sheng. He then left suavely. After Jiang Xi had walked far away, Jiang Daodu suddenly turned around. Her eyes were red as she looked at Jiang Xi's back. Then, with a determined look, she walked towards Genten Budokan's third building. Training. She realized that she was slowly getting further and further away from Jiang Xi. This feeling made her very uncomfortable. She must catch up with Jiang Xi. Jiang Sheng smiled and shook his head. This pair of siblings was strange. Chapter 35. Kitasanfa Martial Artists Association. After Jiang Xi got off the bus, he went straight to the meeting point. Jiang Xi, over here. Zhou Yang waved at Jiang Xi from afar. Jiang Xi quickly ran over. The other members of the Mad Dragon squad had already arrived. Sorry, I'm a little late. Riverward apologized. Wang Dalong, Tian Chenfeng, and Lu Hao nodded slightly. It's okay. Since we're out of the city, we need to rest for a while. Have you brought all your equipment? Zhou Yang asked. Yes. Jiang Xi patted his backpack. You brought so many things. Zhou Yang was surprised. All of it is food. I've been afraid of starving since I was young. If I don't bring anything, I won't feel at ease, Jiang Xi laughed. He had no choice. If he found that he did not have enough food when he reached the wilderness and used the interface to level up, it would be awkward. Hearing Jiang Xi's words, Wang Dalong and the others' expressions changed. However, they did not say anything. Riverward knew that although he had joined the Berserk Dragon squad, in reality, he was still in the probation period. Strength. Everything depended on strength. At this moment, Jiang Xi noticed that Zhou Yang was carrying a specially made recurve bow and quiver of arrows on his back. Brother Yang, you use a bow? Jiang Xi asked curiously. From what he knew, very few martial artists used bows. In terms of long-range attacks, everyone still worshipped firearms. In individual combat, they usually used large-caliber sniper rifles. They had high lethality and some armor-piercing bullets could easily penetrate the defense of monsters. Don't look down on bows. My recurve bow is E-grade. The arrowheads are specially made. High-explosive arrows, shock arrows, armor-piercing arrows, they have as many functions as a sniper rifle. They are powerful and easy to carry. Zhou Yang was very proud. Wang Dalong also smiled and said, Zhou Yang is considered an expert among martial artists who specialize in long-range attacks. If the distance is enough, his arrows can even threaten a D-class martial artist. Even I wouldn't dare to take them head-on. Amazing! Jiang Xi gave him a thumbs up. In the distance, a rail car headed out of the city slowly approached. If he wanted to leave the city, he could only leave from the Warrior Association. There were no other rail cars that would lead him out of the city. The car is here. Get in. Wang Dalong said. Jiang Xi followed the other 4 members of the Mad Dragon squad and quickly boarded the car. Nearby, there were other small groups of martial artists who were also getting on the bus. Mad Dragon Wang Dalong was quite famous. Many martial artists greeted him, but Wang Dalong only nodded in response. Jiang Ci followed the principle of watching more and listening less. After getting into the car, he sat there quietly. She wasn't agitated, nervous, or afraid. She was very quiet. 2 hours later, the train passed through the city walls and drove out of the city. It stopped at the Northern Mountain Army's barracks. "We're here, get off." Jiang Ci was a little confused. Weren't they going to the wilderness? Why did he come to the barracks? Zhou Yang saw Jiang Ci's confusion and explained with a smile, "Martial artists who enter the wilderness will usually stay in the barracks. First, they will gather information. Second, they will rest and reorganize before the battle. For this reason, the barracks will prepare a special resting area for martial artists. This time, you can familiarize yourself with the procedures." After hearing this, Jiang Ci understood. It was like fighting a war. Martial artists were equivalent to special forces, and monsters were the enemy. As far as the eye could see, there were many dormitory buildings that weren't too tall in the resting area. At this time, many martial artists were resting there. They were all wearing combat uniforms. Some of them were even injured. "Old Wang, your room is still empty. Go there yourself. If you need anything, give me a call," the martial artist in the resting area said with a smile. "Huh, thanks a lot. It just so happens that I need some things now. I just don't know if you have them." Wang Dalong laughed. "Our Northern Mountains Army's martial artists have the most complete supplies. I'm just afraid that you won't buy them." The martial artist also laughed. Wang Dalong turned to Jiang Ci and the others and said, "You guys go to the dormitory and rest for a while. Lu Hao and I will go gather information and get some supplies back. Captain, get me some armor-piercing arrows." "It wasn't easy to get them in the city," Zhou Yang hurriedly said. "Don't worry, I know what I'm doing," Wang Dalong said. When hunting monsters, armor-piercing bullets were very useful in breaking through their defenses. After Wang Dalong and Lu Hao left, Jiang Ci followed Zhou Yang and Tian Chenfeng to the dormitory. Jiang Ci looked around as he walked. The resting area of the Northern Mountains Army's barracks was different from the place where he participated in the combat assessment. The atmosphere here was less serious and more casual. Before he reached the dormitory building, two people walked up to him. Jiang Ci's eyes narrowed. Shen Guang. Shen Quan's younger brother. He didn't expect to meet him so soon. "Jiang Ci, you've got guts. You actually dared to come to the wilderness." Shen Guang sneered. "It's not like your family owns it." Jiang Ci was very calm. Shen Guang's expression froze. Then, he said without hiding his killing intent, "Do you still remember what I said last time? I'll kill you. I'll avenge my big brother. If you want to come, then come. You talk too much nonsense." Riverward was never a coward when it came to quarreling. "Damn it! You little bastard!" Shen Guang was furious and took a step forward. As soon as he moved, Jiang Ci immediately took a step back. Zhou Yang and Tian Chenfeng took a step forward and blocked Jiang Ci behind them. In the distance, a group of military cultivators who were patrolling noticed the commotion and quickly rushed over. "Shen Guang, we can't fight in the barracks. We're going to the wilderness anyway. Let's wait until we meet." The small-eyed man beside Shen Guang grabbed him. Shen Guang's expression was ugly. He looked at Jiang Ci with murderous intent and quickly left with his companions. When the group of soldiers saw this, they left again. Jiang Ci's expression was calm as he expressed his gratitude to Zhou Yang and Tian Chenfeng. Then, the three of them went to the dormitory together. It was a simple 6-person room with bunk beds. Considering that this was outside the city and further away was the wilderness, it was good enough to have a place to sleep peacefully. However, Jiang Ci felt a sense of familiarity. It was just like the university in his previous life. "Let's all rest for a while. When we enter the wilderness, we won't have such a good chance to sleep. Tian Chenfeng laughed. She lay down on the bed and quickly fell asleep. Jiang Xi chuckled. Tian Chenfeng was easygoing and didn't seem to care about anything. Chenfeng is right. Let's quickly rest. Zhou Yang laughed. Jiang Xi lay on the bed with his head resting on his arm. He didn't feel sleepy at all. After a month of preparation and cultivation, his strength had reached a new level. It was different from the confrontation with Shen Guang at the Warrior Association. This time, Jiang Xi was confident. He just didn't want to fight because he wanted to abide by the rules of the military camp. Level, Skin Refining, F. 129121000, Cultivation Method, 9 Elements Heart Technique Martial Technique 9 Elements Sword Technique, Small Mastery 66130000, Wind Shadow Steps, Small Mastery 66150000, Force Exertion, 1, 44 Experience, 426. The improvement of 9 Elements Sword Technique and Wind Shadow Steps gave him the confidence to fight with an E-grade martial artist. The most obvious thing was that his force exertion had increased by 0.44, his strength and speed had both increased. Of course, fighting wasn't Jiang Xi's goal. Becoming stronger was his goal. After letting his imagination run wild in the dorm for a long time, Wang Dalong and Lu Hao returned. After knowing what had happened, Wang Dalong nodded slightly. When I was collecting information, I also saw the Blood Hangman's captain, He Shua. They must have bumped into each other when they entered the wilderness. However, don't worry. Our Mad Dragon squad isn't afraid of them. Moreover, the wilderness is so big. The probability of bumping into them is very small. After saying that, he said seriously, get ready. When the sun goes down, we will enter the wilderness. Chapter 36. In the afterglow of the setting sun, the 5 members of the Mad Dragon squad were fully armed. They stepped out of the gate of the Northern Mountains Army's resting area and officially entered the wilderness. Their speed was not very fast. Wang Dalong was in front, followed by Tian Chenfeng and Lu Hao. Zhou Yang was at the back, and Jiang Xi was protected in the middle. Wang Dalong walked in front and said, "This time, we're going to ruin 0724. It was originally a county in the old era. The danger level there is lower than average. We'll hunt in the periphery for a few days. When Jiang Xi gets used to it, we'll go deeper." "No problem. I believe in Jiang Xi's strength," Zhou Yang said with a smile. "Yang, it's useless to just talk. Jiang Xi has to perform himself." Lu Hao shook his head, a little worried. Looking at Wang Dalong and Tian Chenfeng's expressions, he also had the same thought. Jiang Xi smiled gently. His expression was normal. "You're right. Whether I can do it or not depends on myself." Then, he began to carefully observe his surroundings. This was his first time entering the wilderness. The environment was different from what he had imagined. In the past, he had only seen some of it on the news. After all, it was not as shocking as seeing it with his own eyes. The grass and trees on the endless plains were more lush than in the old era. Under their feet were sections of asphalt roads. They were in a mess as if someone had torn them apart. As expected, it's just like what was recorded in history books. Many things were destroyed because of the crazy growth of living things during the 2 spirit awakenings. Jiang Xi carefully observed. In the dense weeds on both sides of the road, there were dilapidated cars that had been corroded by time. These were things left behind from the old era. It was a mess. It could be seen that when the monsters suddenly invaded, people panicked. Jiang Xi's heart was heavy. He had just crossed that dark period of history. He wondered how his family and friends in his previous life were doing when the monsters attacked. The 5 of them walked for more than half an hour. The sun went down, and the 2 moons slowly rose. Waves of beast roars from different distances rang out on the plains. Whoosh! There was movement in the grass in front of them. A 2-meter-tall blood-tusked wild boar appeared in front of them. Kihi, this is a blood-tusked wild boar that's close to E rank. Jiang Ci, I'll leave it to you. If you want to gain everyone's recognition, show me your true abilities, Wang Dalong said. Captain, won't it be dangerous? It's our first time fighting such a powerful monster, Zhou Yang said worriedly. I've seen Jiang Ci's information. Basic sword technique and basic movement technique are at the Unity realm, which is higher than most F-class warriors. He can handle a small blood-tusk wild boar. Wang Dalong was expressionless. Little Yang, it's not that I want to be rude, but martial artists aren't flowers in a greenhouse. When we reach Ruin 0724, the monsters there are much more dangerous than this one. If Jiang Ci doesn't adapt quickly, then I advise him to turn back now and not come to the wilderness. Lu Hao also said. Brother Yang, Brother Hao is right. Don't worry, I can handle it. Jiang Ci didn't have a glass heart. On the contrary, he agreed with Lu Hao's words. Are you afraid now? How could he still be a martial artist? Alright then, you go. I'll watch from the side for you. But be careful. The monsters in the wilderness are different from the ones you encountered in the actual combat assessment. Those are reared in captivity and don't have any intelligence. The monsters in the wilderness are stronger. Zhou Yang took out his bow and arrow, ready to shoot at any time. Jiang Ci nodded and raised his hand to draw his sword. With a swish, the killer shadow sword reflected the moonlight and emitted a cold light. Perhaps it had provoked the blood-tusk wild boar. Roar! The blood-tusk wild boar let out an abnormal roar. Its body emitted a wave of heat as it charged forward. Jiang Ci exerted strength in his legs and dashed forward, his long sword slashing diagonally. But this way, he would definitely be hit by the blood-tusk wild boar. Its strength was close to that of an E-class monster. If he was hit by it, even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. Zhou Yang was also a little nervous. He raised the bow in his hand a little. In a flash, Jiang Ci suddenly turned sideways and raised his killer shadow sword. A half-foot deep wound appeared on the blood-tusk wild boar's body. Blood spurted out. Good movement technique. Zhou Yang praised. Wang Dalong and the others were still expressionless on the road. The blood-tusk wild boar went berserk from the pain. It turned around and charged forward again. Jiang Ci was very calm. He tightened his grip on the killer shadow sword and increased his speed once more. With the agility of his movement technique, he began to fight with the blood-tusk wild boar. At the same time, the killer shadow sword found the right opportunity to continuously attack. Stabs, slashes, and so on. Every time, he dealt damage to the blood-tusk wild boar. Wind shadow steps and 9 elemental sword technique are my trump cards. I can't show them to others easily. It's enough for me to use basic body movements and sword techniques against a monster that's close to Class E. Riverward's train of thought was very clear. Moreover, over the past month, he had practiced wind shadow steps and 9 elemental sword technique. His control over his body's strength and speed had increased significantly. Even if he didn't use the moves of these two martial arts techniques, his strength had increased significantly. Jiang Ci continuously used his movement technique. His body swayed as he dodged and attacked at the same time. In the distance, Zhou Yang smiled and said, "Captain, I told you. This kid can do it." Of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have agreed to let him join the Mad Dragon squad. A hint of a smile finally appeared on Wang Dalong's face. Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng nodded as well. It was his first time fighting against a monster in the wild. To be able to perform like this, he was very outstanding. He didn't panic at all. His battle thinking is very clear. He knows how to use his movement technique to deal with this kind of heavy monster. His control over his sword is also very good. He's a good seedling for swordsmanship. If we train him a little, he might catch up to me very soon, Tian Chenfeng said with a smile. He also used a sword. With just one glance, he could tell that Jiang Xi's control over his sword techniques was exquisite. The blood-tusk wild boar was pretty much worn down by Jiang Xi. Its entire body was covered in blood, and its movements had also become slow. At that moment, Jiang Xi saw that it was about time. He stabbed the blood-tusk wild boar through its eyes and into its brain. Roar! The blood-tusk wild boar let out a pained cry and fell to the ground with a bang. You killed a Class F blood-tusk wild boar. Increased EXP by 10. The most valuable part of the blood-tusk wild boar's body is this pair of blood tusks. They can be used to carve or make medicine. Jiang Xi bent down and cut off a pair of blood tusks. At that moment, Wang Dalong and the others walked over. Captain, these blood tusks? Jiang Xi asked. You killed it yourself, so it's yours. This blood tusk wild boar is close to Class E. This pair of blood tusks should be able to sell for around 10,000 yuan, Wang Dalong said with a smile. Oh. Jiang Xi kept the blood tusks properly. Earning money was so easy. Jiang Xi, your performance just now was very good. Your control over the sword was beyond my expectations. However, there's one thing. Your efficiency in killing monsters is too low. Tian Chenfeng suddenly said. He usually didn't speak much. The moment he opened his mouth, Jiang Xi became very curious. Efficiency was low. He felt really good. He had easily killed a monster that was close to E-class. When we meet another monster later, I'll demonstrate it to you, Tian Chenfeng said. Chenfeng is an expert in using the sword. His basic sword techniques have already reached the Unity realm. Jiang Xi, you can learn more from him, Zhou Yang said with a smile. I understand. Thank you for the reminder, Brother Feng. Jiang Xi nodded. At that moment, Wang Dalong said with a smile, Jiang Xi, chop off another pig leg. We'll have supper tonight. Monster meat can be eaten? Jiang Xi was surprised. Chapter 37. Of course. Blood tusk boar evolved from pigs by absorbing spiritual energy. Its meat is very good and full of energy. It's most suitable for martial artists like us. If we eat a lot of it, it can even strengthen our body. Many rich people in the city usually spend a lot of money to buy monster meat. Wang Dalong laughed. Jiang Xi's eyes lit up. He raised his sword and chopped off 2 boar legs that were almost a meter long. When he returned, he must bring some monster meat back for Jiang Daodu to try. There are 5 of us. 1 is enough. Zhou Yang was a little confused. It's not enough. I can eat a lot. 2 moons hung in the sky. The bright moonlight shone on the plains. After traveling for more than 30 kilometers, the Berserk Dragon squad rested in a hidden trench. Then, they saw what Jiang Xi meant by, can eat a lot. 2 blood tusk boar legs were simply roasted and seasoned. A rich meaty aroma wafted out, whetting everyone's appetite. Wang Dalong, Zhou Yang, and the other 3 shared 1 boar leg. Jiang Xi was alone, hugging the other boar leg that was almost a meter long. Before eating, he muttered in his heart, increase level by 30 experience points. Suddenly, a strong sense of hunger appeared. He wolfed down the food with a snort. Delicious! Jiang Xi's eyes widened. It was too delicious. After being nourished by spiritual energy, the monster meat became even more delicious. I swear, I won't eat boar legs anymore. Jiang Xi said with a lisp. His mouth was stuffed with blood-tusk boar meat. The 4 of them were silent. They were shocked. Jiang Xi. Blood-tusk boar legs are also boar legs? Zhou Yang's tone was heavy. Then the oath just now is invalid. Jiang Xi did not even raise his head. He ate very quickly. I finally know what it means to be gifted. Lu Hao tore off a piece of meat and was very emotional. Monster meat contains spirit energy. Those whose bodies can't absorb it well won't be able to eat much of it. Only those who can absorb it well can eat it so recklessly. Wang Dalong sighed. Tian Shenfeng's movements were still very slow. He did not speak much, but he could not hide the shock in his eyes in the end. Only a pile of bones was left of the nearly 1 meter long pig leg. Riverward let out a burp. Very satisfying. Let's rest for a while before continuing our journey, Wang Dalong said. An hour later, the 5 members of the Berserk Dragon Squad continued their journey. Soon, a dilapidated village appeared in front of him. It was also left behind from the old era. The brick houses in the village were dilapidated. Woo! A low growl was heard. A mastiff covered in red fur walked out from a dilapidated courtyard at the side. It's an F-rank bloodthirsty mastiff. Wang Dalong said. Let me. Tian Shenfeng walked forward, then turned around and said to Jiang Xi, next, I'll show you how a real martial artist should hunt monsters. Jiang Xi nodded seriously. Watch carefully. Tian Shenfeng pulled out a long sword. He was also using an E-rank killing shadow sword. The bloodthirsty mastiff pounced over, but Tian Shenfeng did not dodge. Holding the long sword in reverse, the hilt hit the bloodthirsty mastiff's front leg directly. Under the strength of an E-rank martial artist, the bloodthirsty mastiff was pushed back, its body leaning backwards. Poochie! Tian Shenfeng's eyes were sharp and his hands were fast. The sharp killing shadow sword pierced the bloodthirsty mastiff's neck. Direct kill. Clean and neat. Jiang Xi watched carefully. His eyes moved slightly. He now understood why Tian Shenfeng told him that his efficiency in hunting monsters was low. Did you see it clearly? Martial artists and monsters are different. Monsters only know how to use their bodies, but martial artists still have their brains. When we fight with monsters, we must know how to use our intelligence and find the monster's weakness. Tian Shenfeng said. Jiang Xi nodded. Although he was confident that he could easily kill the bloodthirsty mastiff, he definitely could not do what Tian Shenfeng did. He only used one move to kill an F-rank monster. Previously, he had to grind for more than 10 minutes to kill the blood tusk boar. Efficiency. Using intelligence to fight. Jiang Xi's mindset changed. For the next few days, they walked and stopped along the way in order to train Jiang Xi. As long as they encountered an F-rank monster, the Berserk Dragon Squad would let Jiang Xi deal with it. Jiang Xi consciously looked for the monster's weakness. If there was no weakness, then he would use his speed to expose the monster's weakness and quickly kill it. Gradually, his efficiency in hunting monsters became higher and higher, and he grew rapidly. On the 5th day, they were nearing Ruin 0724. From afar, they could see more abandoned cars by the roadside. A 1-meter-long black shadow cat suddenly jumped out. Its eyes flashed with a fierce light as it growled. F-rank shadow cat. Jiang Xi, it's yours. Wang Dalong said. As for Jiang Xi, he had already rushed forward. The shadow cat's body is nimble. It's hard to attack its weakness. However, my strength is stronger than its. I'll win with brute force. Jiang Xi directly swept out with his killing shadow sword. He blocked the shadow cat's high jump and then used his shoulder to knock it away, exposing its abdomen. Now's the time. Jiang Xi's body flashed and suddenly increased his speed. He quickly caught up with the shadow cat in 2 or 3 steps and pierced its heart with his sword. You killed an F-rank spirit cat. Experience plus 10, the 4 members of the Berserk Dragon Squad looked at him with admiration. I'm really impressed by Jiang Xi's improvement speed. Lu Hao nodded and said with a smile. Shenfeng, maybe after a while, Jiang Xi will be stronger than you. His movement is better than yours. Zhou Yang also laughed. This monster. It's only been 5 days. He's almost the same as Old Fox. However, it's still too early for him to surpass me. I'm an E rank and he's an F rank. No matter how talented he is, he'll still have to wait for a year or so. Tian Chenfeng shook her head slightly. In the distance, Jiang Xi only felt satisfied. To him, killing F-rank monsters was as easy as chopping vegetables. Quickly pack up and get ready to enter the ruined city. Wang Dalong shouted. The five of them walked for another 20 minutes. In front of them, a ruined city that seemed to have been cut into many pieces appeared in the vision of the Berserk Dragon Squad. An old-time city that was destroyed when the world changed. Jiang Xi's eyes moved. He just did not know how much of the old-time city could be preserved after 100 years. Zhou Yang said from the side, after the Spirit Qi revival, although the monsters living in the wild have become stronger, they are still afraid of human firearms. Therefore, many monsters will enter the ruined city and use the buildings in the city to resist the firearms. Therefore, the bigger the ruined city, the more monsters there are, and the more dangerous it is. Some of the weaker warrior squads do not even dare to set foot in the ruined city. Jiang Xi nodded. Before entering the wilderness, he had already learned about this from Genten Budokan's website. Not only that, in terms of danger, the ruined cities in the plains were less dangerous. The truly dangerous ones were the ruined cities near the mountains and rivers. Chapter 38. Under the cover of the night, the Mad Dragon Squad quickly entered Ruin 0724. Broken walls and dilapidated buildings were everywhere. Jiang Xi was stunned by the scene in front of him. There were still many things he was familiar with here. World Lotus, Huajing Sugua, Yongguang Supermarket, Tudiandian, they were all brands he was familiar with in his previous life. He could no longer see them in the new era of the Spirit Qi revival. He did not expect to see them here. Jiang Xi took a deep breath. His gaze became even more determined. Since he was already in this era, he could no longer be tied down by the old things. He had to keep moving forward. He would not turn back. Everyone, be careful. There are many monsters hiding in the nearby ruins. If we cause a ruckus and attract more monsters, we'll be in trouble. Wang Dalong shouted. The group of people carefully walked through the ruins. Be careful. There are 3 E-class red flame hounds in the supermarket on the left. Dog-type monsters have the best noses. Let's go around them. Wang Dalong turned around and led the squad into an alley at the side. Jiang Xi carefully observed his surroundings. In a place where danger lurked everywhere, he could not afford to be careless. He also realized that most of the monsters in the ruined city were evolved from pigs, dogs, cats, cows, sheep, chickens, ducks, and geese. For example, the tigers, leopards, wolves, and apes in the forest evolved into monsters. They were rarely seen in the ruined city, but they were much stronger. Hence, the mountains, rivers, lakes, and seas in the wild were even more dangerous. Roar! An E-class sword-horned goat leaped out from a dark corner and let out a thunderous roar. Whoosh! Wang Dalong swung his saber and slashed the sword-horned goat to the ground. He was a D-class martial artist and could instantly kill an E-class monster. Roar! A whoa! With this move, the roars of many monsters could be heard from the darkness in the distance. Quick! Wang Dalong shouted. Jiang Xi and the others immediately increased their speed. They moved through the ruined streets and alleys. After killing a few more F-class monsters, they finally stopped in front of a tall building. This was the only building nearby that had not collapsed. It had 32 floors. Rose Garden Residential Area. Jiang Xi looked at the residential area sign that had been split in half. Go upstairs. Be careful, there might be monsters coming out of the corridor. They were very fast. In less than a minute, they were close to the top of the building. Whoosh! A black shadow pounced on him from the corridor. Lu Hao was the closest to him. He swung his long copper hammer at him. Bang! The force was so great that the F-grade silver light cat was sent flying into the wall. The sound of bones breaking could be heard, and when it fell to the floor, it was already dead. What a powerful force! Jiang Xi was shocked. Previously, he had heard that Lu Hao specialized in strength. This was too strong. He killed an F-class monster with a single hammer strike. Finally, they reached the rooftop and closed the iron door. Only then did everyone heave a sigh of relief and disperse. Wang Dalong said, "When I was resting in the military camp, I asked around. This is one of the tallest buildings in Ruin 0724. It's high up, and it can be our stronghold. Everyone, take a good rest. Tomorrow morning, we'll officially start hunting monsters. Phew. I can finally have a good sleep." Tian Chenfeng directly laid down on the ground and quickly fell asleep. Zhou Yang and Lu Hao casually leaned against the wall and began to rest. Jiang Xi smiled and shook his head. When they were moving on the plains, from time to time, a monster would jump out. Therefore, no one dared to rest for too long. They could only rest for 1 or 2 hours along the way. Their minds were constantly tense, and they were very tired. He opened his experience panel and prepared for his daily training. Level, Skin Refining, F, 14412100, Cultivation Technique, 9 Elements Heart Technique Martial Skills 9 Elements Sword Technique, Small Mastery, 81130000, Wind Shadow Steps, Small Mastery, 81150000, Force Exertion, 1, 54 Experience, 256. In these 5 days, he would add 30 experience points to his level, 9 Elements Sword Technique, and Wind Shadow Steps according to the limits of his body and brain. His strength was steadily increasing. In another 20 days, I'll be able to reach E-class. Jiang Xi estimated. Then, he took out food from his backpack and began to increase his level. His backpack was full of roasted monster meat, such as sword-horned goat, blood-tusk boar, iron bull, and so on. He had used a special method to preserve them, ensuring that they would not spoil for a week. Half an hour later, Jiang Xi finally filled his stomach and replenished the energy he had just used. Next, he increased the experience points for 9 Elements Sword Technique and Wind Shadow Steps. These 2 martial skills did not consume his body's energy, but the limits of his brain. He had to withstand a large amount of martial skill comprehension and the impact it brought to his brain. When he first learned 9 Elements Sword Technique and Wind Shadow Steps, Jiang Xi originally thought that in terms of martial skills, these 2 martial skills would at most increase his experience points by 30 points. Later, he discovered that each of them could increase his experience points by 30 points, which added up to 60 points. Jiang Xi guessed that when he was upgrading his basic sword technique, the large amount of experience points he gained in a short period of time exceeded the limits of his brain. Although it caused him to be in a coma for half a month, when he woke up, it increased the limits of his brain. Time, experience points. In another 20 days or so, my strength will be able to reach another level. Jiang Xi was looking forward to it. With this thought in mind, he also closed his eyes for a while, but he still maintained a trace of vigilance. The morning sun rose. This ruined city was a little more lively. Everyone, get ready. Let's move out. Wang Dalong woke everyone up. Jiang Xi and the others quickly got up and looked at the time. They had only rested for a little more than 3 hours. According to the information we gathered, the strongest monster in Ruin 0724 is a C-class, followed by many D-class monsters. Our goal is to hunt down D-class monsters. Everyone, use your binoculars. Each of you is in charge of one direction and scout the surroundings to see if there are any suitable targets. The 5 members of the Mad Dragon squad immediately took action. They each took out their high-powered binoculars and began to scout the distance. Under the high-powered binoculars, Jiang Xi discovered something. The scene of the ruined city during the day was very different from the scene at night. Their field of vision had become wider, and they could see many monsters that were wandering and hunting. Captain, there's a D-class Ironhide bull in my direction, but there are dozens of E-class and F-class monsters gathered around it, Zhou Yang shouted. Search for another 10 minutes. If there are no other suitable targets, then we'll hunt it down. Wang Dalong hurriedly went over to check the situation. 10 minutes passed, and no one found any other suitable targets. They hunted the D-class ironhide bull. From afar, this was a huge bull-type monster that was 4 meters tall. The black cowhide was like a sheet of iron, reflecting the sunlight. The 2 curved cowhide horns looked quite ferocious. There were many other weaker monsters around the D-class ironhide bull. Seeing this, Jiang Xi finally understood why Wang Dalong had to search for a while before confirming that they were hunting this D-class ironhide bull. It was not easy to kill. Chapter 39. The ironhide bull was a monster with extremely high defense, so it was very easy to break through its defenses without powerful penetrative attacks. Furthermore, D-rank monsters would gather together with a certain number of F-rank and E-rank monsters, making it even more difficult to hunt them down. Let's try it from afar first. Little Yang, it's all up to you now. Wang Dalong said. Ha, it's finally time for me to show off my skills. Zhou Yang chortled with glee. He pulled out his custom-made recurve bow before placing a row of custom-made arrowheads in front of him. Jiang Xi looked at them carefully to find that they were armor-piercing arrows, shock arrows, and explosive arrows. Watch my 3 consecutive arrows. First arrow, armor-piercing. Zhou Yang knocked an arrow, and an armor-piercing arrow pierced through the air before instantly arriving in front of the D-rank ironhide bull that was 2 to 3 kilometers away. Splat! The custom-made armor-piercing arrow rotated at high speed like a drill before instantly burrowing into the ironhide bull's neck. It was big, so it was a big target. Nice! Wang Dalong and the others all yelled. The first arrow had struck a vital point, so the rest were much easier. Second arrow. Shock arrow. The ironhide bull was in pain after being struck by the armor-piercing arrow, and it became even more frenzied. However, it couldn't find a target, so it could only rampage through its surroundings. The ground tremored, and some of the wreckage of the buildings were pulverized as smoke rose into the air. As for the weaker monsters around it, they began to flee. At this moment, the shock arrow flew through the air. Whoosh! This arrow struck the exact spot where the armor-piercing arrow had been struck. The special sound wave and shock arrow knocked the ironhide bull unconscious, and it became even more frenzied. However, its speed was slowed down. Third arrow. Explosive arrow. Another arrow instantly flew through the air. 3 arrows flew through the air in less than 10 seconds. Boom! The arrow struck the same spot again, and an explosion ensued. A washbasin-sized hole appeared in the ironhide bull's neck. It swayed a few times before collapsing to the ground with a loud thump so powerful. Jiang Xi was extremely astonished. This was the first time he had witnessed the power of a long-range martial artist. 3 arrows to kill. No wonder Wang Dalong had told him that Zhou Yang could rival a D-rank if he had enough distance. With that in mind, Jiang Xi warned himself that he couldn't give long-range martial artists a chance to attack him in the future. Well done. Little Yang, you have the greatest merit in this hunt. Wang Dalong said with a smile. Amazing. Jiang Xi gave him a thumbs up. Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng were also very happy. They didn't have to face a D-class monster, so of course it was a lot easier. Next, we have to retrieve the materials from the ironhide bull's body. That's the most dangerous part. I will be at the front. Lu Hao and Chenfeng will protect the flanks. Jiang Xi will protect Little Yang from the back. Do you all understand? Wang Dalong glanced at them. Understood. The 5 of them quickly rushed down the stairs toward the carcass of the ironhide bull. We need to be fast. Although Little Yang only used less than 10 seconds to attack just now, he might have attracted the attention of other monsters or martial artist squads. Wang Dalong said in a low voice. Captain, ruins like number 0724 have at most 3 to 5 warrior teams. The probability of encountering them is very low, right? Lu Hao smiled. We can't let our guard down. Wang Dalong frowned. They were already approaching the carcass of the Ironhide bull, but the herd of beasts that had just dispersed had gathered again. Charge! Wang Dalong took the lead. The large saber in his hand slashed through the air, and a few F-class monsters that pounced at them were directly cut down. Tian Shenfeng and Lu Hao used a sword and a hammer respectively to fend off the monsters that had surrounded them from both sides. There are too many of them. Lu Hao swung his hammer repeatedly and swung it at the monsters. Over a dozen monsters surrounded the group of people. Splat! An arrow struck a shadow cat. Zhou Yang calmly knocked an arrow on his bow and cleaned up the monsters that Tian Shenfeng and Lu Hao had missed. Meanwhile, Jiang Xi focused on protecting Zhou Yang and preventing any monsters from approaching. You killed an F-class monster, Scarlet Flame Dog. Experience plus 10, you killed an F-class monster, Quick Gold Rat. Experience plus 10, you killed an F-class monster, Shadow Cat. Experience plus 10, you killed an F-class monster, Sword Horn Goat. Experience plus 10, a string of experience notifications appeared, and Jiang Xi became more and more motivated to kill. This was the first time that he had a chance to gain experience from killing so many monsters. Be careful! Zhou Yang suddenly shouted as he drew his bow and shot an arrow. It was an E-class bloodthirsty mastiff. It suddenly sped up and pounced at Lu Hao, who was killing monsters. Lu Hao could not react in time. His face was filled with fear. Whoosh! Jiang Xi rushed over like lightning. With a flash of his sword, he pierced the bloodthirsty mastiff's neck. You killed an E-class monster, bloodthirsty mastiff. Experience plus 30, splat. Zhou Yang's arrow pierced the bloodthirsty mastiff's heart almost at the same time. Yang Zi, thank you. Thank you too, Jiang Xi. Lu Hao was still scared. Jiang Xi nodded slightly. He did not say anything and returned to Zhou Yang's side. But Zhou Yang saw it clearly. The one who saved Lu Hao was Jiang Xi, and not his arrow. But Lu Hao instinctively thought that it was his arrow that hit the bloodthirsty mastiff first. Jiang Xi is so fast. Zhou Yang was very surprised. However, from the way Jiang Xi shook his head, Zhou Yang knew that Jiang Xi did not want to reveal his speed in front of everyone. Zhou Yang nodded and did not say anything. At this moment, the Berserk Dragon squad finally reached the carcass of the Ironhide bull. Quick! Wang Dalong sliced off the Ironhide bull's horns, while Tian Shenfeng sliced off the bull's tail and bull whip. Let's get out of here. The team of 5 charged out again before quickly diving into the ruins of a nearby building. After losing their target, the beast horde did not pursue them. 3 minutes later, 4 figures flew over from the distance. All of them were armed to the teeth. The person in the lead was tall and thin. Among the 3 people behind him, one of them had a scar on his forehead and a sinister expression. It was the Blood Massacre Squad. They immediately spotted the carcass of the Ironhide bull. Fuck! D-class Ironhide bull. Its horns, tail, and bull whip can fetch at least 3 million spirit stones on the market. We're late. Shenguang sighed with remorse. We came here for nothing. Retreat. He Shua, the captain of the Blood Massacre Squad, frowned and led his team away. The 4 of them then entered a building and arrived at the rooftop. It's not a big deal that we missed the Ironhide bull. Remember our objective this time. If we can hunt down that severely injured C-class shadow leopard, we'll make a fortune. It'll be equivalent to 1 or 2 years of our income. He Shua said in a grave voice. 3 days ago, they discovered a severely injured C-class shadow leopard in this ruined city. They immediately tried to hunt it down, but it still managed to escape in the end. Shadow leopards were very rare monsters. Their fur, flesh, and bones were all sold for a high price on the market. They were worth at least 300 million new moon coins. Normally, they could only be found in the mountains. They suspected that this shadow leopard had been severely injured by a C-class or even B-class martial artist. That was why it had escaped to this ruined city. However, they did not expect that even though the shadow leopard was severely injured, they still failed to kill it. It's already been 3 days. I wonder if that shadow leopard has left this ruined city, Shenguang said worriedly. Don't worry. When we hunted it last time, I already placed a tracker on it. I just checked, and the tracker shows that it's still in this area. He Shua took out a signal tracker. Shenguang, don't you trust the captain? His plans are flawless, a middle-aged man with small eyes said. He was Wan Qing, the long-range attacker of the Blood Massacre Squad. Brother Wan, you're right. It's a pity that the captain wasn't around when we were resting at the military camp. Otherwise, I would have asked the captain to place a tracker on Jiang Xi, and I would have been able to kill him in the wilderness. Shenguang spat. Chapter 40. Shenguang hated Jiang Xi to the core because of his elder brother's death. Look at you. Why is it so troublesome to deal with a rookie martial artist? If you want to avenge your brother, the easiest way is to find an underground organization and hire a few ruthless ordinary people to mess with his family. That's better than killing him. Wan Qing said with a sinister smile. Brother Wan, won't we be investigated by the Warrior Enforcement Bureau and the Special Inspector Bureau if we do that? Shenguang was puzzled. Investigate my ass. There are so many martial artists and so many things to do. They don't have the time. Besides, Jiang Xi is just a rookie martial artist. Although President He thinks highly of him, a rookie is still a rookie. A high-level martial artist like President He won't pay too much attention to him. Besides, a dead genius is worthless. Who would investigate? Wan Qing sneered. Wan Qing is right. Shenguang, you're still too inexperienced when it comes to revenge. More than 10 years ago, I did the same thing. First, I hired people to kill that martial artist's family. Then, that martial artist was in a trance and was eaten by monsters in the wilderness. I didn't even have to do anything. No one could trace it back to me. He Shua said with a smug smile. Shenguang was deep in thought. Then, a ruthless look appeared on his face. Yes, he was still too naive. A week passed in the blink of an eye. After the first hunt, Jiang Xi gradually got used to the pace of training in the ruined city. However, the Berserk Dragon Squad still used him as a support. His main task was to protect the long-range attacker, Zhou Yang. Jiang Xi also slowly realized that long-range attackers were very useful in the process of hunting monsters. Of course, a good opportunity like that day to hunt the Ironhide Bull was the only one. After that, it wasn't so easy. It was always Wang Dalong, Lu Hao, and Tian Chenfeng. The three of them worked together to kill the D-class monsters while Zhou Yang looked for opportunities in the distance. Jiang Xi was happy to see this situation. After all, he didn't have to do much. It was just that he didn't have much experience points from killing monsters. Therefore, when they encountered F-class monsters, Jiang Xi didn't need Wang Dalong's instructions and directly charged forward to kill them. The Berserk Dragon Squad had just killed a D-class monster and was moving to another base. F-class monster, Scaled Armor Hound, Jiang Xi. Wang Dalong said he saw a figure dashing out, sword light flashing. Fuck, this kid is too impulsive. Zhou Yang, prepare the stun arrows. Wang Dalong's face changed. Scaly Armor Hound, a Class F monster, was a rare monster. With the super high defense of its scales, its strength was about the same as a Class E monster. Even if Lu Hao and Tian Chenfeng were to deal with it, it would still take some effort. In everyone's eyes, Jiang Xi was only an F-class martial artist. Although he could easily kill an F-class monster, he was still far from being comparable to the scaly armored dog. However, he did not expect Jiang Xi to rush out. In front of him, Jiang Xi's speed was extremely fast as he ruthlessly slashed out with his sword. Clang! The slaughtering shadow sword struck the Scaled Armor Hound and sparks flew everywhere. What a strong defense! Jiang Xi was surprised. Clang! Clang! Jiang Si's figure flickered as he dodged the scaled armor hound's attacks. But it was very difficult to break through the defense of the scales, and the damage it dealt to the monsters was very small. Looks like I can only use my full strength. Jiang Si thought to himself as he gripped the hilt of his sword tightly. Level, Skin Refining Realm, Class F, 1651210, Strength, 1, 68 inches. A week's time, due to the improvement of the 9 elemental swordsmanship, his strength had risen to 168. When he used his full strength, he could definitely compare to an E-class martial artist. With this thought in mind, Jiang Si stepped to the side and swung his sword again. Jiang Si, back off a little. Let me kill it. Zhou Yang shouted from afar. But in the next moment, swish! Jiang Si's sword cut through the scaled armor hound's scales, creating a half-foot deep wound. Blood splattered everywhere. Whoa! The scaled armor hound howled miserably as it went berserk. Its blood-red eyes revealed an ominous glint as it tried to bite him. Huh! Jiang Si laughed loudly. His figure continuously turned as he used a wandering method. At the same time, his sword struck the scaled armor hound's fatal points. 1 minute later, the slaughtering shadow sword pierced through the wound and into the scaled armor hound's body, killing it. You killed an F-class monster, Scaled Armor Hound. Experience plus 10, Genius. Monster. Monster. Wang Dalong, Tian Chenfeng, and Lu Hao all widened their eyes in shock. Only Zhou Yang didn't speak. He had already guessed it. Last time when they hunted the Ironhide Bull, Jiang Si had killed an E-class monster with a single slash. This scaled armor hound's strength is equivalent to an E-class monster. Tian Chenfeng couldn't believe her eyes. This is ridiculous. It hasn't even been half a month since we entered the wilderness, and this kid's strength is soaring like a rocket. Lu Hao shook his head. Chenfeng, maybe in less than a year, Jiang Si will catch up to you soon, Zhou Yang said with a smile. Don't mention that. My heart can't take it. Tian Chenfeng smiled bitterly. Looks like it won't be long before our Mad Dragon squad has another D-class martial artist. Wang Dalong laughed loudly. 2 D-class martial artists. When the time comes, we might be able to hunt C-class monsters. Zhou Yang and the others' eyes lit up. C-class monsters meant a higher income. Jiang Si removed the hardest scales from the scaled armor hound's chest and put it away in his backpack. Jiang Si, get ready. We're going to the next place. Wang Dalong shouted. They had already hunted most of the monsters in this area. It would be difficult to find any more D-class monsters. The team of 5 set off again. When it was close to evening, they arrived at another area of the ruins of City 0724. That building is the tallest. Let's hurry over. The 5 of them moved quickly and went straight to a 5-story shopping mall in front of them. After clearing the floor of monsters, they climbed up to the top of the building. Oh! We can have a good sleep again. Tian Chenfeng heaved a sigh of relief. Chenfeng, you shouldn't be a martial artist. You like to sleep so much. Lu Hao teased. Work and rest. What do you know? Tian Chenfeng ignored him and quickly fell asleep. Jiang Si smiled lightly and took out his binoculars to observe the surroundings. Although Wang Dalong did not say anything, he was cautious. Every time he went to a place, he would observe the surroundings to make sure there was no danger. Jiang Si looked through his binoculars and saw a small martial artist team 3 kilometers away. They were being attacked by a group of monsters. No, that's Han Ningxue. Jiang Si saw the face of one of them clearly. The other 3, looking at their clothes, they are students from Hokuzen Budo Academy. Jiang Si quickly determined the situation. Captain, there are students from Hokuzen Budo Academy 3 kilometers away who are being attacked by monsters. Should we save them? Jiang Si immediately asked. Students from College of Martial Arts? We must save them. Wang Dalong was very decisive. Zhou Yang and the other two also became serious and quickly equipped their weapons. Let's go. The five of them directly jumped down from the top of the 5-story building and rushed forward at an extremely fast speed. A minute later, they saw the students from Hokuzen Budo Academy who were being attacked. The other party also saw them. Someone is coming to support us. Students, hold on a little longer. The leader was a man in his 20s. When he saw people coming, he quickly shouted. Han Ningxue and the other 3 students also became spirited. They saw Han Ningxue wearing an alloy boxing glove and sending an F-class monster flying. The monsters that surrounded them were mainly F-class monsters. There were only 2 E-class monsters. After the 5 people from Mad Dragon Squad came up and killed more than 10 monsters, the other monsters saw this and immediately fled. After that, Jiang Ci looked carefully and thought, these people are really bold. 1 E-class martial artist and 4 F-class martial artists dared to come to this ruined city to hunt monsters.